Chapter 991. Parents' revival. The final step of fusing the soul with the body required some time. It was not as fast as the two previous steps. Bai Yuntian's entire body became enveloped in a bright white light. The light gradually permeated the ice caskets before enveloping it completely. Her soul slowly re-entered her body with the help of the radiant saint force, origin energy, inside her head. Jianchen, Tianjian, and the others watched Bai Yuntian fixedly. They were all filled with anticipation. The mercenaries entering and leaving the city noticed the powerful white light from the origin energy. It immediately drew many of them over, but before they could approach the region, they were blocked by an invisible force. However, this did not reduce the mercenaries' curiosity at all. They watched from afar, which caused more and more people to gather in the end. Very soon, it had even attracted a few old knowledgeable mercenaries who cried out. That's the Radiant Saint force that can only be controlled by Radiant Saint Master. Look at the coffin before the caster. Is it a Class 7? Radiant Saint Master resurrecting the dead, making the people in the coffin live again? As a chain reaction, all the mercenaries who watched on out of interest became stunned. They all looked toward Jianchen's group with respect and admiration that they struggled to hide. Ordinary Radiant Saint Masters were probably extremely commonly seen in Mercenary City. It would not attract anyone's attention. However, it would be a different story if they were Class 7. This was because there were just too few Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters on the Tianyuan continent. There were only 20 or so of them, even with the whole continent in perspective. As such, they were even rarer than Saint Kings. Meanwhile, a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master had just appeared outside Mercenary City, currently casting the technique to resurrect the dead. This was something so rare that could never be seen even across thousands of years. The news of a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master bringing back the dead outside Mercenary City spread very quickly, immediately creating a huge disturbance. Even more people hurried out from the city. They all wanted to see the heaven-defying abilities of a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master. Some individuals from larger clans even considered pulling the Class 7 Radiant Saint Master to their side or recruiting them. Very quickly, a huge, densely packed crowd gathered outside the city. All of them watched on from 5 kilometers away, while a few Heaven Saint Masters took to the skies. They watched from high up, not because they did not want to approach Jianchen's group, but because no one had the power to cross the 5-kilometer boundary. Although Jianchen's group knew what was happening in the surroundings, no one cared about it. All of them devoted their attention to Bai Yuntian inside the ice casket. Time passed slowly. Night fell and day broke once more. 24 hours had passed in the blink of an eye, and during this time, nothing happened to the light around Bai Yuntian. Jianchen and the others stood like statues for the entire day. A great group of people had gathered from Mercenary City. Although a whole day had passed, their numbers failed to decrease, and had even increased. They formed a densely packed encirclement around Jianchen and the others. At this moment, the milky white light around Bai Yuntian began to fade and disappeared at a visible rate. Those with sharp eyes could tell that the light was not actually vanishing, but rather slowly entering Bai Yuntian's body. She was absorbing it. Bai Yuntian's change caused Jianchen's eyes to freeze. Then he closed his eyes, using the 3 soul techniques to check on the condition of Bai Yuntian's soul. When he opened his eyes once again, delight filled his face. It succeeded. My mother's soul has successfully fused with her body, Jianchen said with a trembling voice. He was so ecstatic that he became rather unnatural. He had looked forward to this day for far too long. Mingdong, Taita, and the others all smiled as well. They were happy for Jianchen that he could revive his parents. The milky white light completely disappeared, and the paleness slowly receded from Bai Yuntian's face. It was replaced by a rosy red, but she did not wake up. According to the records of the 3 techniques, those who do not wake up immediately have their souls in an extremely weak form, which can't support their bodies. The souls need to be nourished for a period of time, with a maximum length of 3 days, Jianchen murmured excitedly. Without any hesitation, he used the 3 techniques once more to revive Changyang Ba. After another day, Jianchen successfully gathered Changyang Ba's soul and fused it into this body. However, he did not wake up either. Both their souls were very weak and needed to be nourished in the body for a period of time before they were able to wake up. Jianshen's excitement had already peaked with the revival of his parents. He struggled to calm down even after quite a lengthy amount of time. Jianshen, let's bring your parents into the city first. They can slowly awaken there, Tianjian said as he saw more and more people gather in the surroundings. Jianshen agreed without any hesitation to this suggestion. He wanted to find a peaceful place for his parents to awaken. Afterward, Jianshen's group took to the air as Jianshen carried the ice casket. They flew toward the city, directly entering it through the air. Mercenary City had an iron rule that no one could fly within the city, or they would suffer the punishment of the barrier spirit. As a result, all the mercenaries became wide-eyed when they saw Jianshen's group enter directly through the air. They did not suffer any punishment, which caused the gazes of all the mercenaries to be filled with admiration. They must be part of the upper echelon of Mercenary City. Only the upper echelon have the right to fly in the city, discussed quite a few people. Jianshen did not return to the Divine Hall. Instead, he went to another independent space under Tianjian's lead. He settled down in a luxurious palace, quietly waiting for his parents to wake up. Ruijin and Heiyu remained outside. Xiaoling was already extremely merciful for letting the two of them into the city. No foreign race could enter the spaces carved open within Mercenary City. Jianchun, Mingdong, and Taita waited beside Bai Yuntian and Changyangba for the two to wake up. After 2 whole days, Bai Yuntian's finger finally twitched slightly. Then her eyes slowly opened. Her eyes were filled with confusion. "Mother, you've finally woken up," Jianshen called out with a trembling voice. Tears began to well uncontrollably in his eyes. Bai Yuntian's eyes froze when she heard this familiar voice. The confusion quickly vanished from her eyes, and she looked toward the direction of the voice. She immediately discovered Jianshen's face, a face she was most familiar with. "Xianger," Bai Yuntian cried out. Her memories surged forth like a flood, before they stopped at the moment when Old Man Situ and his 4 other cronies had come to cause trouble for the Changyang clan. Bai Yuntian's face changed abruptly when her memories reached there. She cried out, "Xianger, go. There are Saint Ruler coming to get you." Bai Yuntian had no idea she was no longer in the Changyang clan, as she had just woken up. She subconsciously wanted to stand up from the bed, but as soon as she moved, she discovered that she was completely powerless. She could not even stand up. "Mother, just lie there and don't move. Rest well first. The matters from before have already passed. Those Saint Rulers can no longer oppress me," Jianshen said gently as he hurried to urge Bai Yuntian to lie down. These slight movements seemed to have consumed all the power left in Bai Yuntian. She collapsed powerlessly onto the bed and heaved heavily for quite a while. Then she asked, "Xianger, just what has happened to me? Why don't I have any power?" Bai Yuntian's eyes suddenly narrowed as she said that. She became shocked and murmured, "I clearly remember that I died to the hands of that Saint Ruler, so how am I still alive? Xianger, what is this all about? And where is this place? It doesn't seem like the Changyang clan." "Mother, this is Mercenary City." Jianshen started to explain everything from start to end. "What did you say?" "Xianger, it has already been 10 years since then, and my life was resurrected by your abilities as a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master?" Bai Yuntian became tongue-tied after she learned everything that had happened in all those years. She became filled with disbelief. Jianshen nodded and replied, "Mother, there's also Father. Father has been saved by me as well, but he's currently unconscious. He should wake up shortly." Afterward, Jianchun, Mingdong, and Taita sat down beside Bai Yuntian and began talking with her. They told her the matters that had occurred in the past 10 years, as well as the changes to the Changyang clan bit by bit. However, they did hide some parts. Half a day later, Changyangba woke up as well. He learned about his current situation from Jianshen very quickly, and also became tongue-tied. He struggled to calm down after a very long time. The one most excited was definitely Jianchun, as his parents both woke up. Jianshen had never been so happy even with all the years that had passed. Jianshen spoke some more with his parents, before leaving with Mingdong and Taita. He left them in a safe environment to rest well. This was also to give them some time to accept what was going on. In the next few days, Jianchun made soup from 100-year-old heavenly resources, which possessed a mild medicinal effect to nourish his parents' body. Afterward, he slowly increased it to several 100-year-old heavenly resources, and then 1,000-year-old and several 1,000-year-old heavenly resources. His parents had just been resurrected. Their souls and bodies had been separated for so long. Although their bodies had been maintained perfectly and had been nourished by the origin energy of radiant saint force, a huge disparity still existed if they were compared to the bodily conditions of ordinary people. They needed to slowly recuperate. Bai Yuntian and Changyang Ba recovered quickly under the medicine made from the heavenly resources. They made a full recovery in just half a month. The two of them had completely accepted the unbelievable facts that lay before them after the half a month of buffering. They knew that they had died once already. Chapter 992. Whereabouts of 7 Beast Furs. Jianchun finally completely his greatest wish with the revival of his parents. He was extremely happy in the past few days. Half a month later, Jianchun gathered with Bai Yuntian and Changyang Ba. The two had fully recovered. However, something heavy seemed to be weighing on their minds. Xiang'er, we've stayed at Mercenary City for so long. It's about time we leave. We'll be returning to the Changyang clan, said Bai Yuntian. Sigh, so much time has passed in the blink of an eye. Xiang'er, we've left the Changyang clan for just too long. We learned about some of the situations the Changyang clan experienced, but we're still impatient to return. Since that's our home, Changyang Ba said as well. The thought of going home had laid in the couple's minds the whole time they rested. They were just too weak before, so they did not mention it. Jianchun agreed, without any hesitation after hearing this. He said, Mother, father, since you want to return so much, let's leave Mercenary City as soon as possible. Jianchun seemed to think of something as he spoke up to their. He hesitated slightly before speaking with mixed emotions. Mother, father, the clan has changed greatly now, because I wanted you to recuperate peacefully after having your souls fuse into your bodies. I hid some things from you. Jianchun had indeed explained the situation of the Changyang clan to the couple roughly in the past few days, but he did not go into detail. He hid a lot of matters, and did not mention the protector clans at all. He did this so that his recently revived parents could recover peacefully. After all, it would just be too shocking for the two if he recounted the connection between the Changyang clan of Lore City and the protector Changyang clan. Jianchun no longer had any worries now that Bai Yuntian and Changyang Ba had both made full recoveries. He narrated everything regarding the Changyang clan in a more complete fashion, including the situation with the Changyang clan of the protector clans, and the return of the founder, Changyang Zuyingkong. Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian were about to return to the clan, so Jianchun only wanted to let them know about the situation beforehand. This would allow them to mentally prepare themselves. That way, they would not become dumbfounded after they returned. Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian both become dumbstruck once again after learning these matters. Their hearts churned, and they struggled to calm down even after a very long time. The two of them had never thought that the clan would have such a profound history, much less think that the founder was actually a member of the 10 protector clans of the continent. Jianchun left the room, providing his parents with a peaceful environment so that they could accept everything. Jianchun only skimmed over what he had gone through in the past 10 years with a few sentences, and did not go into the details. He had experienced quite a lot of bloodshed, and danced between the edge of life and death many times. He did not plan on telling his parents about this, as it would make them worry. At the same time, Jianchun did not tell them about his conflict with the 10 protector clans. That was not something for the couple to interfere with at all, so if he told them about it, it would only burden them. Afterward, Jianchun found Ming Dong and Tai Ta. He had learned from Tianjian that Ming Dong had reached the peak of Heaven Saint Master long ago, and had always been stuck at the obstacle of reaching Saint Ruler, unable to break through. Jianchun pulled out 3 pieces of white beast fur, and a scroll from his space ring. Then he passed these things to Ming Dong. He said, Ming Dong, these items can assist you in the comprehension of the mysteries of the world, and thus help you with your breakthrough. I relied on them to reach Saint Ruler before. You should stay in Mercenary City and work hard on cultivation in the next few days, so you can reach Saint Ruler as fast as possible. Ming Dong did not try to turn these items down out of politeness, and took the 3 beast furs and the scroll from Jianchen. He nodded determinedly and said, "Don't worry, Jianchen. The next time we meet, I would have definitely already become a Saint Ruler." At this moment, Tianjian walked in from outside. He casually glanced at the items in Ming Dong's hand. At the very start, he paid no mind to it, but in the next moment, his eyes suddenly narrowed. He began to stare fixedly at the 3 white beast furs. With a slight movement, he immediately arrived before Ming Dong. Afterward, he took the 3 furs from Ming Dong's hands and began to examine them. He was surprised. Ming Dong, Jianchen, and Tai Ta all became stunned with how Tianjian had reacted. Afterward, Jianchen seemed to realize something, and a gleam of light flashed through his eyes. He asked, "Senior Tianjian, do you recognize these 3 beast furs?" Tianjian did not reply immediately. He caressed the beast furs for quite some time before nodding slightly. He looked toward Jianchen in interest and asked, "Where did you get these 3 pieces of beast fur, Jianchen?" "I obtained them from various places years before. Senior Tianjian, do you know the secret that's hidden within them?" Jianchen asked. He had already learned some basic information regarding the furs from Mo Tianyan, but it was limited. He knew nothing else other than the fact that there were 18 in total, and only a Saint Emperor's soul could fuse them back together. Jianchen had always been extremely curious toward the secret hidden within these beast furs. After a while of thought, Tianjian said, "Mercenary City also has a piece of beast fur. An elder accidentally obtained it several 100,000 years ago, and we've kept it all the way until now. The mysterious and powerful energy is hidden within the beast fur, and as it oscillates, no one can sense it. But when it awakens, it can display the mysteries of the world. It's extremely wondrous. However, the beast fur is extremely tough. No one in the world can tear it apart. Even I can't. Many of my predecessors of Mercenary City have tried guessing the secret of the beast furs before. However, they said nothing other than guessing that it came from the winged tiger god of the ancient times." Tianjian rubbed the beast furs gently and mumbled, "Mercenary City has 1 piece. The 10 protector clans hold on to 6 pieces, and with the 3 pieces in your possession, there's a total of 10 that has appeared now. I wonder just how many there are in total." Jianchen could not help but feel disappointed after he failed to learn anything substantial from Tianjian. However, he did learn one thing. At least he learned the whereabouts of 7 other pieces. 1 was with Mercenary City, and 6 were with the protector clans. Only the locations of the remaining 8 were unknown. These beast furs can only be fused with the soul of a Saint Emperor. There's no need to hurry, Jianchen thought. He made up his mind. He needed to gather all the pieces somehow in the future. Tianjian passed the beast furs to Ming Dong once again and said, "It should only be a matter of time before you reach Saint Ruler with these 3 beast furs. It's a pity that the beast fur in Mercenary City's possession is in the divine hall left behind by the city lord. A Saint Emperor Grand Elder left it there all those years ago, so I cannot retrieve it at all. Otherwise, I would have lended it to you long ago so that you could reach Saint Ruler as soon as possible." Then, Tianjian looked toward Jianchen and said, "Jianchen, I know you need to leave. Go with your parents. Ming Dong and Tai Ta will stay here. Once Ming Dong reaches Saint Ruler, he will go looking for you. Tai Ta's identity is relatively special though. His constitution as the war god has already awakened completely, and his special characteristics have become even more obvious. Meanwhile, you'll be coming into contact with the protector clans very often in the coming period of time, so Tai Ta cannot go with you. Even I won't be able to do anything once he gets recognized by the protector clans. After all, he's not a member of the human race, and the protector clans have a vendetta against the previous war god." Jianchen nodded silently. Tianjian was right. Tai Ta's identity was just too special. His strength was still not enough to contend with the protector clans, so it would be best if he did not interact with the protector clans. Jianchen would definitely stand with Tai Ta if his identity was exposed. However, Once he helped out Tai Ta, the protector clans that hated him would probably brand him as a traitor. Even the Changyang clan of Lore City would be pulled into the matter and would result in extremely severe consequences. Tai Ta's face immediately darkened after he heard Tianjin's words. He became extremely heavy-hearted. Jianchen patted Tai Ta's chest and said, "Tai Ta, just cultivate here at ease. I will come back in the next few days." Tai Ta nodded silently. After bidding farewell to the two of them, Jianchen left with Bai Yuntian and Changyang Ba, along with Rui Jin and He Yu. Xiao Ling naturally tried to persuade him to stay before he had left. It took up a great effort before Jianchen managed to convince Xiao Ling. Chapter 993. Yu Yu's feelings. Thanks to the assistance of Rui Jin and He Yu, Jianchen's journey was extremely easy. He Yu directly ripped open a space gate, crossing over 1,000,000 kilometers in a mere step. They directly arrived in the space above the Changyang clan in Lore City. Right now, Jianchen was completely certain that Rui Jin and He Yu only followed him to protect the winged tiger god. He had already grown accustomed to them following him closely everywhere. Jianchen originally wanted to visit the Tianqin clan in Walorant City to see Qin Xiao. However, he gave up on the idea after considering that it was just too inconvenient with his parents as well as Rui Jin and He Yu. He decided to spend the next period of time dealing with the matters at hand, before proceeding to the Tianqin clan to find Qin Xiao. He had no idea how Qin Xiao was after they had separated for 10 years. Was he married? Did he have children? What level of strength did he grow to? Jianchen brought Bai Yuntian and Changyang Ba back with Rui Jin and He Yu, which immediately led to a very large uproar in the clan. Very few people in the clan knew that Jianchen was a Class 7, Radiant Saint Master. So many of them felt utterly astounded with Bai Yuntian and Changyang Ba's resurrection. Changyang Zuyin Xiao and Changyang Zuyinkong viewed Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian's return with great importance. They set aside their lofty statuses and personally went up to receive them. They were extremely polite and did not display the haughtiness commonly seen between different generations. After all, they had given birth to the pride of the clan Jianchen. As Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian already had some prior understanding of the clan before they had arrived, they did not panic or become surprised when they saw Changyang Zuyin Xiao, Changyang Zuyin, or the Changyang clan ancestor. They greeted the three of them as juniors, as they were Changyang Zuyunkong's descendants after all. Bai Yuntian and Changyang Ba were nimble-minded people. When they saw how politely the esteemed Changyang Zuyin Xiao and Changyang Zuyin treated them, they immediately understood that it was all because of their son. They could not help but feel extremely proud, but in no way did they become arrogant. Later that night, Changyang Zuyin Xiao personally held a banquet to welcome back Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian. Even the king of the Jessen kingdom ran over from a very great distance and warmly greeted Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian. He made his mind up to establish a tight relationship with the clan, as he was only on friendly terms with Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian in the clan other than Jianchen. The king mentioned the marriage between his daughter and Jianchen once again to Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian during the banquet. He used various excuses in an attempt to make the marriage occur earlier. He was eager for Jianchen to become his son-in-law. Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian naturally agreed with the king's suggestions. They were also eager for Jianchen to marry Yu Yu, but with Jianchen's present-day status, they could no longer force him into the marriage. They still needed to ask Jianchen himself. Jianchen had just returned to the continent, so he had a lot of matters to attend to. The white tiger's mother, Rum Guinness, needed to be saved, and the white tiger also needed to take its revenge. Jianchen also needed to take revenge for the massacre of the Bai clan, deal with Tai Ta's identity, deal with the threats from the beast god continent, deal with the sea goddess task, and so on. These matters would all take a large amount of time to complete, so he could not afford to think about matters of love. As a result, he pushed it back time and time again. He knew that this was very unfair to Yu Yu, but he could do nothing about it. Yu Yu, who sat beside Jianchen, naturally became extremely happy as soon as she heard her father mention the marriage with Jianchen. She was filled with anticipation, but she still became extremely disappointed in the end. Xiang'er, you're not young anymore. It's about time you consider marriage. Yue has already waited for you for over a decade. Do you still want to keep her waiting? Said Bai Yuntian, as she persuaded him earnestly. She liked Yu very much as a daughter-in-law. Jianshan also became filled with uneasiness. He said, Mother, I'll find some time to marry Yue after I deal with the matters at hand. After these words left his mouth, he could not help but think about Huang Wan, who he was in love with, as well as the heavenly enchantress who he ended up sleeping with since they had no other choice. His emotions immediately became mixed. Mother-in-law, let's talk about it after Jianshan deals with his matters. Yue is busy with the flame mercenaries right now as well, so I'm not in the mood to deal with marriage at this time either. Yu said gently. Her soft voice was as pleasant as a lark's call. Although she said this, Yu's gaze toward Jianshan still hid a deep bitterness. At the banquet, Changyang Zhu Yingkong formally announced Changyang Ba as the patriarch once again. Changyang Ba would be dealing with all the matters of the clan. The position of patriarch was finally passed on officially. The position did not mean anything, but it at least showed Changyang Zhu Yingkong's acceptance and respect for Changyang Ba. The sun had set completely after the banquet ended. However, the Changyang clan was still completely bright. Groups of guards patrolled the surroundings with their chest held high. They were in fine spirits, constantly looking around sharply like eagles. Jianshan and Yu walked around in the slightly dark back garden. They walked together slowly and said nothing. Jianshan was calm and revealed an expression of thought from time to time. He seemed to have a lot that weighed on his mind. Meanwhile, Yu looked toward Jianshan from time to time. Her eyes were bright and enchanting. In the end, Jianshan and Yu arrived in the pavilion of the garden. The night breeze was gentle. Jianshan stood in the pavilion with his arms crossed behind his back, as he looked at the fishes within the lake. His luxurious white robes fluttered gently in the wind. Jianshan, is there something on your mind? Said Yu gently, as she looked at Jianshan brightly. Yu, I've really let you down. I've made you wait for so long in the past few years, but I really do have a lot of things to attend to right now, Jianshan said apologetically. He felt riddled with guilt. Yu raised her arm gently and used her thin fingers to cover Jianshan's mouth. She stopped what Jianshan wanted to say next and looked toward Jianshan with tender affection. She said softly, Jianshan, don't say any more. I know it has been very hard for you in the past few years. You seem extremely glorious on the surface, but all that glory was exchanged from risking your life. In the past few years, you've worked very hard to increase your strength, almost dying countless times. It has been harder for you than anyone. Those hair-raising situations you've been in exceeds anything we can imagine. Jianshan, go attend to your matters without worry. I am weak and cannot help you with anything, but I will wait for you silently. I will stand behind you quietly and follow your shadow, and quietly support you from behind. Suddenly, Jianshan looked at Yu's face when he heard these words. He was deeply moved once again, as he looked at her weary face. Yue, Jianshan said gently. He opened his arms and hugged Yu tightly. Immediately, a faint fragrance entered his nose. Coupled with Yu's petite body, Jianshan felt enchanted. A sliver of visible panic appeared in Yu's eyes when Jianshan suddenly pulled her in, but she calmed down very quickly. A faint red flush immediately dyed her cheeks. She extended her arms to embrace Jianshan as well, and gently placed her head on his chest. She slowly closed her eyes to enjoy this lovely moment in all of its detail. In this moment, Yu felt like she had obtained the world. There was nothing more wonderful than embracing her most beloved person. A while later, Yu said gently, Jianshan, I know you won't be able to stay at the clan for very long. Can you tell me when you will be leaving? After a slight pause, Jianshan said with difficulty, tomorrow. Yu's body shook. She looked toward Jianshan, unwilling for him to go. You just returned. Can't you stay for a few days longer? Jianshan shook his head slowly and said, I need to deal with some matters as soon as possible. Yu embraced Jianshan even more tightly. She said after a period of hesitation, Jianshan, I want to be with you. If there's no danger, please bring me with you. Jianshan hesitated when he heard this. After a period of thought, he realized that what he would be doing was nothing dangerous. Also, he had Rui Jin and Heiyu by his side, as well as the protection from the Octaterra Divine Hall and the Saint Artifact. As a result, it was unlikely that Yu would be in any danger, so he agreed. He had owed Yu enough. It really was hard for Jian Chun to turn down such a small request from her. Chapter 994. Rum Guinness. Yu immediately became emotional when she saw Jian Chun accept her small request. She was extremely happy. In the morning of the next day, Jian Chun took Yu with him, as he left the Chongyang clan with Rui Jin and Heiyu. The wild wind whistled in the sky as it blew past them like a gale at sea. It was terrifyingly loud, almost like thunder. Jian Chun held Yu's thin waist as he flew through the sky, flying in a straight line toward an unknown location. A barrier formed from world force staved off the wind around them. Yu became slightly flushed from Jian Chun's embrace. However, happiness filled her as well. She smiled slightly as she looked at the receding landscape below and Jian Chun's face. Jian Chun, where are we going next? Will it be dangerous? Yu's voice was filled with excitement as she looked at Jian Chun brightly. This was the first time she had wandered the Tianyuan continent in her entire life. And it was with her most beloved and most admirable partner. It was impossible for her to be unexcited. Jian Chun flipped his hand, and a white tiger hair suddenly appeared in his palm. This hair was originally left behind by Xiaobai's mother, Rum Guinness. She left it behind, so that they could find her in the future. Jian Chun gently brought the hair to the white tiger, that lied gently on his shoulder. He said, Xiaobai, it'll all be up to you if you can find your mother or not. The white tiger's interest was immediately piqued. Suddenly it stood up. It stared unblinkingly at the white hair in Jian Chun's hands with its eyes wide open. Rare, mixed emotions began to pour from its pure eyes. The white tiger could not even open its eyes when it had left its mother. It probably did not even know what she looked like. However, it was impossible for it to mistake his mother's scent, because this was a natural instinct of magical beasts that humans did not possess. Growling, the white tiger produced a throaty growl, as if it was crying in anguish. It also seemed to be talking to Jian Chun, even though he could not understand it at all. The white tiger appeared to miss its mother after catching a whiff of her scent. The white tiger was currently a Class 7 magical beast, but the time since its birth was just too short. His current mind was even more undeveloped than Xiaoling from Mercenary City. The white tiger gently raised its furry front paw and opened its mouth slightly. A wind blade shot out and cut its paw. Immediately, a droplet of bright red blood dripped out and fell accurately onto the hair in Jian Chun's hand. Only the blood from the white tiger could activate the hair that Rum Guinness left behind. The hair immediately turned completely red after it absorbed the blood. It began to glow with a demonic red light before it broke free from Jian Chun's grasp. It shot off into the distance with lightning speed. Jian Chun tightened his arm around Yu and fused with the surrounding space. He used spatial force to travel, turning into a blur as he chased after the tiger hair. In the northern parts of the continent, there was a marsh perpetually covered by a layer of poisonous gas. Countless poisonous bug and feral beasts lived in the marsh, and there were plenty of Class 6 magical beasts. The marsh was in an extremely desolate region, as the poisonous gas there was just too potent. Even Earth Saint Masters were not resistant to it, and most detoxifying pills were ineffective. As a result, it became labeled as a forbidden region to most mercenaries. Only Heaven Saint Masters could survive within it. In the center of the marsh, powerful booms constantly rang out despite the thick, green poisonous gas that clouded the area. It caused the gas to churn constantly as violent ripples of energy radiated outward. More than 10 experts floated in the air at the center. They rained down powerful attacks one after another, striking the marshland below. Their wild attacks formed a huge ditch. It revealed a dull barrier that enveloped an underground cavern. It seemed to shake more and more under the rain of attacks. There were signs of it almost breaking. Put in some effort, everyone. There's not enough energy in the barrier. It'll break very soon. A gray-haired old man in luxurious golden robes floated high up in the sky as he stared coldly toward the shaking barrier. He directed the Heaven Saint Masters to attack the barrier in turns, which constantly ate away at the barrier's energy. The old man was a former patriarch of a large clan nearby. He was also the most powerful person in the group, and had reached Saint Ruler already. However, he only belonged to the first heavenly layer. Old Man Ho, are you sure there's a heavily injured Class 7 magical beast hiding behind the barrier? A Class 7 magical beast is on the same level of cultivation as you, and magical beasts are just innately more powerful than us. If we break the barrier, we'll definitely aggravate the magical beast inside. If it isn't as weak as you anticipated, it would be a disaster. A Heaven Saint Master asked out of worry as he attacked the barrier. The old man referred to as Old Man Ho coldly glanced at the Heaven Saint Master. His gaze was like a sharp knife, and pierced the Heaven Saint Master's heart. It immediately made him tremble, and fear rose from the bottom of his heart. All those below Saint Ruler were ants. Even though Old Man Ho was only at the first heavenly layer, the Heaven Saint Masters were as weak as ants before him. Don't worry. Ever since I discovered something odd here, I've always kept an eye out. I'm certain that it's an injured Class 7 magical beast hiding in the barrier. It must be healing here, so it can't threaten us at all. Old Man Ho said nonchalantly. He was filled with confidence. He could tell that the magical beast that hid behind the barrier was much stronger than himself. If it were not injured, he definitely would not have come to provoke it. He did not take part in breaking the barrier, as he needed to remain in top condition in order to deal with the magical beast's counterattacks. Class 7 monster cores are like great treasures on the Tian Yuan continent. They're invaluable. If I can obtain a Class 7 monster core and absorb all the energy inside it, my strength will be elevated to another level, Old Man Ho thought. A snow-white, 3-meter-long tiger lied weakly on the ground inside the dark cave protected by the barrier. It stared powerlessly at the constantly shaking barrier as despair filled her eyes. She was Xiaobai's mother, Rum Guinness. When the Tiger King from the Gilligan clan initially injured her, she was already at the edge of death and extremely weak. The Tiger King had also deposited his power into her body, and only a Class 7, Radiant Saint Master could cleanse it. It had been sealed up by Jian Chen's power as a Class 6, Radiant Saint Master before. However, this had limited her strength and her recovery speed at the same time. She needed to devote all her strength to suppressing the dark energy, or it would break through the Radiant Saint Force seal. She would be dead for sure at that point. It had consumed a lot of her strength to maintain the seal over the years. She had less than 1/100th of her peak power. As such, once the barrier broke, even Heaven Saint Masters could kill her off, let alone Saint Rulers. As soon as she tried fighting back, the Tiger King's energy would destroy the Radiant Saint Force seal that Jianchen left behind. Chapter 995. Imminent danger, my child. It's a pity that I can't see you one last time. I wonder how you are right now. Did following that human make you suffer? Rum Guinness thought inside. Despair had already filled her heart. She knew that the barrier would not last much longer without more support from her. She was dead for sure after it had broken. Although she was a powerful Class 7 magical beast, she was no longer in her peak condition. She did not possess her previous strength. At this moment before death, she missed and worried about her child the most. Outside, the booms from the barrier constantly rang out. The Heaven Saint Masters rained the barrier with attacks under the directions of the Saint Ruler. This made the barrier's power rapidly decrease. Old Man Ho floated in the air. He stared coldly at the barrier below as caution flooded his eyes. He had already charged up his strength, secretly ready to strike out at any moment. He made his preparations so that the Class 7 magical beast, hiding in the barrier, would be unable to attack him suddenly. Far away, Jian Chen tailed the white tiger hare as he carried Yu. The white tiger stood on his shoulder. He traveled toward the north of the continent, where Rum Guinness had hidden herself. At the side, Rui Jin and Heiyu followed him closely. Although they could rip open space gates, they had no idea of the precise locations, as there was only the tiger hare as a guide. As a result, all they could do was follow the tiger hare. However, they were still extremely fast even though they were flying. In the blink of an eye, several days had passed. Jian Chen's group had crossed through countless kingdoms of various sizes, as well as many mountain ranges. They flew constantly and approached the north after they traveled for tens of millions of kilometers. At the same time, the Heaven Saint Masters finally broke through Rum Guinness barrier. The barrier had repelled their attacks for over 10 days, and this consumed all its energy. It revealed the dark entrance to the cavern. The Heaven Saint Masters immediately retreated after the barrier broke. Old Ho entered the cavern carefully alone. He saw the powerless Rum Guinness on the floor at first glance. Rum Guinness' eyes were filled with weakness and were dull. She glanced at Old Ho before she slowly closed her eyes. She had already accepted death now, as she did not have the power to flee in her current condition. Even if she made a final full-powered retaliation regardless of the consequences, she would not be able to injure a saint ruler in peak condition. Old Ho stood cautiously as he stared fixedly at Rum Guinness for a while. Only after he confirmed that the Class 7 magical beast was actually heavily injured did he relax slightly. However, he was still unwilling to be careless. With a wave of his hand, he gathered a powerful energy, shooting it toward Rum Guinness with lightning speed. Boom! Rum Guinness was sent flying without any resistance. She collided against the cavern wall behind her heavily before she fell to the ground. A few mouthfuls of blood immediately spurted from her mouth. A terrifying injury had formed on her body as blood flowed from it. It dyed her snow-white fur red. Rum Guinness' eyes darkened once more. She became even weaker. Old Ho could not help but laugh aloud when he saw this. He said, "Looks like my worry was unneeded. Your injuries are far worse than I had imagined. Looks like I'll be able to obtain a Class 7 monster core and a magical beast corpse with ease today." As he spoke, energy began to gather in Old Ho's hands once more. He struck toward Rum Guinness again. He was unwilling to approach Rum Guinness at all out of caution, afraid that she was faking it all. The white tiger that stood silently on Jian Chen's shoulder suddenly trembled when Rum Guinness was injured. Two streaks of light immediately shone from its eyes, and the vast presence of a Class 7 magical beast began to radiate from its tiny body. The presence contained a burning fury. Roar! The white tiger roared loudly at the sky. It was not like its earlier growl, but a true tiger's roar. It was deafening and basically spread through the entire sky. Afterward, the white tiger leaped off Jian Chen's shoulder. Its curled-up wings suddenly unfurled and began to flap. The white tiger turned into a white streak as it shot off with unbelievable speed. It disappeared in an instant, almost like teleportation. It was moving as fast as it could. The white tiger's sudden actions caused Jian Chen and the others to become stunned. However, Jian Chen realized something very quickly, and his face sank. He hoarsely said, "Xiaobai's mother is likely to be in danger right now. Let's hurry." Jian Chen, your comprehension of the mysteries of the world is just far too limited. "Let me take you," Heiyu said. With a wave of his arm, an invisible force instantly surrounded Jian Chen and Yu Yu. Afterward, it did not hold back at all, fusing them with the surrounding space even more. Through the use of spatial force, they turned into a blur with Rui Jin and Heiyu. They passed the tiger hair instantly as they chased after the white tiger. Rum Guinness had taken several heavy attacks in the marshland. She lay on the ground on her last legs, as blood had dyed her completely red. The blood on the ground had already formed a pool, while her eyes were dark. She seemed to almost close her eyes. Old Ho smiled ruthlessly. He no longer had any fear now, and a curved blade appeared in his hand. He planned on giving Rum Guinness a final strike to completely end her life. Roar! At this moment, a great roar boomed from afar. The sound began near the horizon and rapidly grew louder and arrived nearby in an instant. The roar possessed a great pressure, like the angry roar of a lord. All the magical beasts living in the poisonous marshland were frightened, collapsing onto the ground as they trembled. Even the Heaven Saint Masters and Old Ho were frightened by the roar. However, the effect was not as heavy as they were humans. That's a Class 7 magical beast. Another Class 7 magical beast has actually come. Old Ho's expression changed drastically, becoming extremely ugly. Chapter 996. Hanging by a thread. Old Man Ho stood in the cavern dumbstruck. He was no longer as complacent as he seemed before, and deep fear completely enveloped him. As a saint ruler, Old Man Ho was extremely knowledgeable. He knew quite a lot regarding Class 7 magical beasts. They were naturally more powerful than humans of the same cultivation level. The chances of a human's victory were pitiful if they fought a magical beast with a similar cultivation level. He was a saint ruler, but he did not possess any powerful battle skills. All he could do was probably flee if he came across a Class 7 magical beast. And he could tell from the roar that the magical beast hurrying over was far stronger than him. This made it even more difficult for him to deal with the current situation. How is this possible? How can another Class 7 magical beast appear here? Old Man Ho murmured with a trembling voice. Without any hesitation, he no longer bothered to kill Rum Guinness in the cavern. Instead, he turned into a blur and fled at his greatest speed. At the same time, the stunned Heaven Saint Masters outside returned to their senses. They immediately began to flee as fast as they could without anyone's orders. They could tell from the great roars that the Class 7 magical beast was in top condition, unlike the heavily injured one in the cave. Even the esteemed Old Man Ho was not the opponent of a peak condition Class 7 magical beast. The Heaven Saint Masters fled into the distance at virtually the same time as Old Man Ho. Old Man Ho fused with the surrounding space and hurried along with his abilities as a saint ruler, so he was extremely fast. Meanwhile, the Heaven Saint Masters could only fly slowly. In the blink of an eye, Old Man Ho was about to disappear into the horizon, but a white figure rushed over from behind with a speed countless times faster than Old Man Ho. It crossed through several dozen kilometers in the blink of an eye and blocked Old Man Ho. To no surprise, it was a huge 30-meter-long white tiger with wings on its back. The white tiger floated impressively in the air as it blocked Old Man Ho's path. Its eyes no longer shone with a pure light. Instead, a vicious light glowed in its eyes. It seemed like a bloodthirsty beast. The white tiger's incomparable speed immediately caused Old Man Ho to pale from fright. The strength of the Class 7 magical beast before him was beyond his imaginations. Roar! The white tiger roared at the sky angrily, and did not give Old Man Ho any more time to flee. It swung its front paw directly toward Old Man Ho's neck. As soon as Old Man Ho wanted to dodge, he discovered with fright that the space around him had been frozen unknowingly. It immobilized him. SHWT. The white tiger's sharp claws ripped the hopeless old man's throat in half. The white tiger had beheaded him, and his body fell while his head remained in the sky. The white tiger growled constantly. It opened its mouth, and an energy ball that radiated with powerful ripples shot out. The ball directly collided with Old Man Ho's head. The old man's head immediately exploded with a boom. The tiger had directly wiped out his soul. Saint rulers were rather difficult to kill, but that was only the case when the opponent had a similar strength. Ordinary saint rulers could not even flee before the winged tiger god. The white tiger's fury did not decrease at all after it killed off the old man. He continued to chase down the remaining Heaven Saint Masters with surging killing intent. Even though they had all used a very smart tactic and dispersed, they were nowhere as fast as the winged tiger god. The white tiger caught them one by one. With a flurry of its paws, the white tiger ripped the Heaven Saint Masters into pieces. Their blood dyed the sky red. Although the white tiger was young, it had experienced quite a few events as it followed Jianshan in all these years. It rarely ever fought, but bloody scenes like these were common to it. As a result, it was not soft-hearted at all when it came to killing people. The white tiger still seemed to be angry after it killed the Heaven Saint Masters. It produced a deafening roar at the sky once again, which frightened all the magical beasts in the marsh. All of them were on the ground. They trembled as fear filled their eyes. Rum Guinness lay in her own blood within the cave as she faced death. She opened her darkened eyes with difficulty. Even though she was weak, this did not hide the excitement and emotions within her eyes. As a magical beast, and a high-class magical beast in particular, Rum Guinness could naturally feel a special connection with her kindred. She knew that her child that she had not seen for many years had returned since the first roar. My child, my child, my child has come back," Rum Guinness said in the human tongue. Her voice was so soft and weak that it was barely audible, but indescribable emotions filled it. Blood constantly flowed from her mouth as she spoke, which made her seem extremely miserable. The white tiger outside the cave constantly shrank, before it became a meter in length, as it entered the cavern step by step. Its pair of snow-white wings were slightly unfurled, as they flickered with a soft white light. It seemed extremely impressive. Growl. The white tiger produced a throaty, trembling growl in anguish when it saw Rum Guinness, who lied in a pool of her own blood. The white tiger seemed to be crying, as it could clearly feel that its mother's presence was becoming weaker and weaker. Her life force drained away constantly. Rum Guinness was heavily injured now, so she no longer had any power to keep up the seal within her body. The dark energy broke through as it constantly ravaged her body. Child, my child, I thought that I would never be able to see you again. Now that I can see you right before I die, I can die without regrets, Rum Guinness said in the human tongue. Her voice was so weak and soft that it was barely audible. She struggled to open her eyes, and she looked at the impressive white tiger before her with deep love. Pride filled her eyes. At this moment, Jian Chen, Yu, Rui Jin, and He Yu also arrived. Jian Chen's expression immediately changed when he saw Rum Guinness' condition. He appeared before her in the blink of an eye. A golden streak of light shot out from the center of his eyebrows and landed in his hand as a palm-sized golden tower. Human, I haven't misjudged you. I can feel that my child has grown to class 7. I thank you for looking after my child for all these years. Rum Guinness looked toward Jian Chen with gratitude. Don't talk for now. I'll save you immediately, said Jian Chen. The seal within me has broken. The dark energy a king from the Gilligan clan deposited in my body is currently invading my soul, so my soul will be wiped out very soon. It's too late, Rum Guinness said disjointedly. I'll protect your soul with a strand of radiant Saint Force origin energy. Don't worry, you'll be saved. With a thought from Jian Chen, a strand of origin energy emerged from the top of his head and quickly floated to the tip of his finger. He extended his finger, and the strand of energy immediately disappeared into Rum Guinness. It prevented the dark energy within her from tunneling deeper. Afterward, Jian Chen immediately contacted the artifact spirit to bring Rum Guinness into the artifact space without any hesitation. Right now, Rum Guinness was in an extremely dangerous situation. He could heal her with his abilities as a Class 7, Radiant Saint Master, but the artifact spirit's abilities were even greater. He chose to let the artifact spirit heal her personally as a safety measure. The white tiger nervously stared at the saint artifact that floated in the air. It produced a deep growl, as if it was pleading the artifact to save his mother. Jian Chen rubbed the white tiger's head and said, Xiaobai, don't worry. It's not like you don't know what the artifact spirit is capable of. Don't worry, he'll definitely save your mother. Your mother will be fine. Let's go. We should enter the artifact space as well. Afterward, Jian Chen entered the artifact space with Yu and the white tiger. Only Rui Jin and He Yu remained outside as they kept guard. Chapter 997. Recovery. Rum Guinness lied on the floor in the very center of the huge hall within the artifact space. She was at the edge of death, and her breathing was extremely weak. In the form of a middle-aged man, the white-robed artifact spirit had already received Jian Chen's orders. It appeared out of nowhere beside her and extended a finger. Then, a strand of extremely pure radiant Saint Force origin energy entered Rum Guinness' body. Immediately, a thick layer of white light enveloped her entire body. It was impossible to tell what was happening inside. Jian Chen, Yu, and the white tiger appeared out in the hall. Jian Chen and the white tiger stared unblinkingly at Rum Guinness, who was covered by the white light. At the same time, Yu constantly looked around in curiosity, as this was the first time she had come to this place. She observed everything present. Rum Guinness' body was in an extremely horrible condition. The dark energy left behind by the king from the Gilligan clan ravaged her body constantly, and it slowly extended toward her soul. If Jian Chen had not arrived in time and used a stand of origin energy to guard Rum Guinness' soul, she would have faced grim possibilities. It would make it very difficult to say that she could survive. Although Class 7, Radiant Saint Masters could revive the dead, that only applied when the soul still existed. If the soul was killed off as well, even the one and only Class 8, Radiant Saint Master from the ancient times would have been unable to revive them, let alone Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters. The hall fell into an awkward silence. Jian Shun and the White Tiger stared unblinkingly at Rum Guinness, and made no sounds at all. After she looked around a few times out of curiosity, Yu gradually lost interest as well. She also focused her gaze on Rum Guinness and thought, is that Xiaobai's mother? She can speak human tongue. It also looks like she's at least a Class 7 magical beast. The origin energy under the artifact's spirit's control was much more powerful and pure than Jian Chen's. Rum Guinness' condition took a good turn very quickly under the personal treatment of the artifact spirit. Her body, originally riddled with injuries, slowly began to return to its previous condition. Even the dark energy within her was completely purged. For hours later, the white light around Rum Guinness finally disappeared. Her fur was no longer bloody. Instead, she now had a layer of beautiful snow-white fur. Her dull, weak eyes also shone with spirit once again, and became bright once more. The artifact spirit's origin energy was far beyond anything that Jianchen could match up to. Not only did it completely heal a Class 7 magical beast at the edge of death in such a short time, it had even recovered her soul to its peak condition. Rum Guinness slowly rose up from the ground. Although her injuries had been completely healed, her energy had not been replenished at all. As a result, she was still drained and very weak, which made it rather difficult even when she just tried to stand up. Rum Guinness' body changed, and she turned into her human form very quickly. She became an extremely sturdy middle-aged woman. I thank you for saving my life. Not only would I have failed to see my child ever again, if you hadn't made it on time, I would not even be able to survive any longer. The kindness you have shown the two of us is so great that I cannot return it even with my life. Rum Guinness thanked Jianshen. Jianshen smiled calmly and replied, Senior, you don't need to be so polite. I sure have made you suffer though, making you wait so long before I could heal your injuries completely. Jianshen looked at the White Tiger when he reached this point, before he continued, Senior, you have not seen your son in so many years. You must have a lot to say, so I won't disturb you any longer. The two of you should catch up properly. With that, Jianshen and Yu directly left the hall. They gave the two of them plenty of space. After Jianshen and Yu had left, Rum Guinness looked at the impressive White Tiger. She could naturally tell at first glance that her son was a Class 7 magical beast already. When the White Tiger had first left her side, it was still a cub that could not even open its eyes. Now it had become a powerful Class 7 magical beast. Its growth speed was so great that even Rum Guinness felt extremely shocked. She also felt great excitement and happiness. Jianshen and Yu walked beside each other and arrived on a nearby slope. Jianshen looked into the distance. Then he sighed deeply. Jianshen had finally completed a task that had burdened his mind for many years. Rum Guinness was finally healed, and Xiaobai had reunited with her. Yu stood silently beside him. She hugged Jianshen's arm as the light in her eyes flickered. She constantly observed the weird world inside the Saint artifact. It was clearly different in some aspects compared to the world outside. Jianshen, where is this place? Yu asked. Her voice was as pleasant as a lark's call. This is the space within the Saint artifact. Jianshen explained the matter of the artifact space to Yu. It immediately allowed her to come to an understanding and widened her horizons. She was amazed. At this moment, a powerful ripple of energy surged through the entire artifact space from the hall. All the Class 7 magical beasts sensed this, and looked toward the palace in suspicion immediately. Jianshen also looked toward the direction where the energy ripples came from. He could feel a vague pressure of the world hidden within. Only the use of heaven or Saint tier battle skills would cause this phenomenon. It's newbies. Looks like he's already achieved some success with his research of the Saint tier battle skill, murmured Jianshen. However, he also knew just how profound Saint tier battle skills were. They could not be learned so easily. Not to mention that newbies was changing the battle skill to suit himself, which made it even more difficult. Although he had achieved some success, there would still be quite some time before he completely succeeded. Not long afterward, a white figure shot over. It was the white tiger, pulling his mother to Jian Chen's side. As soon as they arrived before Jian Chen, Rum Guinness knelt down toward Jian Chen and bowed her head. Savior, thank you for protecting my child. I have already learned what the Savior has experienced from my child. Not only did the Savior face the pursuit of the king from the Gilligan clan to protect my child, the 10 protector clans even forced you to leave the continent. Savior's kindness is so great that I, Rum Guinness, will use my life to return to the favor. I am willing to work like a slave for Savior. Senior, please get up. Jian Chen quickly helped Rum Guinness off her knees. Although he was stronger than her now, Jian Chen still felt some respect toward Rum Guinness, which was why he still referred to her as Senior. Rum Guinness was a great mother. Just that was enough for Jian Chen to respect her. Afterward, Jian Chen said a few polite words to Rum Guinness before getting her to recuperate properly. She would leave after she had completely recovered. Growl. The white tiger produced a deep growl as he looked at Rum Guinness. Hatred filled his eyes. Rum Guinness rubbed the white tiger's head and said, "Child, of course, you need to take revenge for your father, but the king of the Gilligan clan is powerful. He's a Class 8 magical beast, and we are not his opponent with our current strength. Child, once you become a Class 8 magical beast, we'll kill our way into the Gilligan clan together and avenge your father." Rum Guinness' voice also became filled with hatred as she reached the end of these words. Years ago, her husband had died at the hands of the king from the Gilligan clan to protect her and her child. His soul had been wiped out. Jian Chen's eyes turned cold when he heard this. He said with a deep voice, "Senior, the Tiger King from the Gilligan clan almost killed me years ago. I have an absolutely irreconcilable enmity with him. Once you recover, we'll kill our way into the Gilligan clan together." Chapter 998. Calling on a helper. Rum Guinness glanced at Jian Chen with suspicion, as if she wanted to see through Jian Chen's strength. However, she could not see through him with her level of cultivation, so Jian Chen seemed like an ordinary person before her. "The two of us are extremely grateful that the Savior could help us, but the king of the Gilligan clan is just too powerful. Also, he has the support of many Class 7 magical beast elders. We will definitely not risk things so easily until we are sure that we can achieve victory," said Rum Guinness. Although she had learned many of the things Jian Chen had gone through throughout the years from the White Tiger, she was still unsure of Jian Chen's exact strength. However, Rum Guinness could guess. When she first saw Jian Chen, he was still an Earth Saint Master. He was unworthy of any importance in her eyes. To her, it was impossible for him to surpass her in this time, no matter how great his talent was. Rum Guinness credited it all to some protective treasure on Jian Chen, as to why she could not perceive his strength. After all, the Saint artifact was a very good example of a protective treasure. Jian Chen could not help but smile when he saw Rum Guinness's lack of confidence. "Senior is over-worrying. The king of the Gilligan clan may be a Class 8 magical beast, something equal to human Saint Kings, but he can still be considered as a weaker Saint King. I naturally have my methods of dealing with him. He cannot threaten us." "Really? Do you really have the power to defeat the Gilligan clan?" Rum Guinness said in surprise. She became delighted. Jian Chen nodded and said, "Senior, recuperate your strength first. Once you're in peak condition again, we'll head to the Cross Mountains immediately and kill our way into the Gilligan clan. We'll take revenge for your husband and Xiaobai's father." Afterward, Rum Guinness returned to the hall to recuperate. Jian Chen did not disturb newbies who was comprehending the battle skill, so he strolled around the artifact space at leisure with Yu Yu. The artifact space had existed for hundreds of thousands of years. After such a long time, the place had become filled with countless magical beasts. Many Class 7 ones still remained even though all the Class 8 ones had left. The Class 7 magical beasts were born in the artifact space and also died inside there. They knew that there was a world outside the artifact space, but they could not leave at all to their dismay. They were essentially trapped in the artifact space, unless they reached Class 9 and became in existence on par with Saint Emperors. Otherwise, they would never be able to see the outside world. There are quite a lot of Class 7 magical beasts inside the Saint artifact. If I use them correctly, they can be an extremely powerful force, Jianshan thought. He began to think of using the Class 7 magical beasts, but he dismissed it temporarily after some careful consideration. If he let out all those Class 7 magical beasts, the first people to stop him would probably be the 10 Protector clans. He knew very well that the Protector clans would definitely let so many Class 7 magical beasts appear on the Tianyuan continent, much less give him control over so many, and let the Protector Chongyang clan's power increase. He no longer feared the 10 Protector clans. But this was all because Ruijin and Heiyu were supporting him. If the two of them were not present, it would be very hard to contend with the other Protector clans, with just the Chongyang clan and themselves. I'll subdue those Class 7 magical beasts, after I become powerful enough to take the Protector clans head-on. There'll be a day where they'll become useful to me, thought Jianshan. He became extremely determined. He was unwilling to waste the huge force inside the artifact space. He just could not use it right now. The artifact space also contained many heavenly resources. Jianshan was able to conduct a harvest properly over the next few days, and collected a large amount of heavenly resources. He planned on bringing them to an alchemist, and refining them into pills in the future. This would allow the flame mercenaries to grow stronger, and simultaneously raise the people who were loyal to him. He had poured all the heavenly resources he had obtained from Tianjian before into the White Tiger, with not a single one remaining. Other than the aged dragon's saliva he had kept before, he possessed no other heavenly resources. Jianshan met the Class 7 Crow King once again during these few days. Jianshan had once killed many of the Crow King's descendants when he competed within the artifact space as a Radiant Saint Master. This made it hold quite the grudge against him. If it were not for the fact that all the Class 7 magical beasts and above were trapped by the artifact spirit before, he probably would have been ripped into pieces long ago by the Crow King. However, it was different from before now. When Jianshan met the Class 7 magical beast once again, it did not dare to show any dissatisfaction toward Jianshan at all. Instead, it bowed politely to him, while Jianshan did not make any trouble for it either. After all, it was possible for the Crow King to become a general under him in the future. Several days later, Guinness' strength fully recovered. She was back at her peak. Then she left with Jianshan. Jianshan brought Yu, the White Tiger, and Guinness out of the artifact space, and returned to the cavern. He noticed Ruijin and Heiyu meditating nearby as soon as he emerged. The two of them had always been guarding the area for the past few days. Ruijin and Heiyu opened their eyes slowly and stood up at the same time. They looked at Guinness nonchalantly as a sliver of interest flickered through the depths of their eyes. Although Guinness' strength was insignificant before the two, her status as the Winged Tiger God's mother was enough to deserve special respect. Senior, now that we've found Xiaobai's mother, let's go take revenge at the Cross Mountains. Please help me pave a convenient path there, Jianshan said to the two of them. Ruijin spoke up after some thought. In the few days we spent in Mercenary City, we gained a rough understanding of the current situation on the Tianyuan continent. The Cross Mountains possesses a force from the Beast God continent, so if you provoke them so openly, it's extremely likely that the Beast God continent will react violently. We're also almost the enemies of both the Tianyuan continent and the Beast God continent simultaneously now, while the Beast God continent has 3 Class 9 magical beasts. 2 of them have always been trying to get their hands on the Winged Tiger God, while the other is not trustworthy even though it has stood on the side of the Winged Tiger God. There is also the Human Saint Emperor from the Tianyuan continent. Although his soul attacks cannot do anything to Heiyu and me, his target is the Winged Tiger God as well. If he works together with the Class 9 magical beasts of the Beast God continent, it'll be very hard for us to deal with them, with just Heiyu and me. As such, we want to increase our power. Senior Ruijin, do you want to gather the other Class 8 magical beasts that left the artifact space with you? Jianshan felt pleasantly surprised. I'm not talking about them. They can't deal with Class 9 magical beasts, even if they gather together. I was talking about that scorching divine phoenix of the divine phoenix clan, said Ruijin. Then he turned to He Yu and said, He Yu, go with Jianshen to the Cross Mountains. I'll go find Hong Lian. If there's anything you can't deal with, contact me through the secret technique. He Yu nodded silently. Ruijin meant it when he said he was going. He immediately ripped open a space gate and left. He Yu did not tarry either, also ripping open a space gate to the Cross Mountains, and leaving with Jianshen and the others. Jianshen passed through the space gate with Yu, and they traversed several million kilometers in an instant. Soon they arrived at the edge of the Cross Mountains. Afterward, they all flew toward the depths of the mountain range. The high-ranked members of the 9 other protector clans were all gathered together right now, excluding the protector Changyang clan. Other than the nonchalant expressions of the people from the Pure Heart Pavilion, everyone else had their brows furrowed and were stern. This was not the first meeting they had held in the past few years. However, the intent was the same for all of them whenever they held one. If it were not about the winged tiger god, it would be about Jianshen and the Changyang clan. Jianshen had returned with the advantage of a divine hall, and even Saint Kings at great perfection could not harm him at all. They all felt extremely threatened by him, as the winged tiger god followed him as well, along with his connection to the Changyang clan. They felt even more uneasy now that Jianshen had the 2 supreme experts, Ruijin and He Yu, beside him. Although the protector clans were the ultimate force that protected the continent, a balance formed between them at the same time. They restrained each other, so even if a certain clan became powerful, they were unable to surpass a certain level. However, the current Changyang clan had already surpassed what they could allow or endure. If the Changyang clan obtained the help of Ruijin and He Yu, they could not be suppressed even if all 9 other clans worked together. They had a lot of hidden power, but this could only be used against invading foreigners, or when they came across existences that they could not repel. Kaiser and the Tiger Emperor Lankiros gathered on the 98th floor of the Beast God Hall, in the center of the continent. They were both sunken-faced. Sangqiong actually hindered me in the most crucial moment. If he had done something on that day, the winged tiger god would have fallen into our hands long ago. Kaiser clenched his fist tightly. He was extremely angry. Chapter 999. Returning mightily. Lankiros's face was also ugly, as he stood with his chest bare opposite of Kaiser. The light in his eyes flickered, and he said coldly, Sangqiong treats the winged tiger god in a completely different manner to us. If he's present, he'll ruin our plans sooner or later. His existence is a great latent danger. Kaiser's eyes also flickered. He growled after a while. If it were possible, I really would like to eliminate Sangqiong. However, he's one of the 3 rulers of the continent. If he falls, our continent's power will be greatly affected as well. Also, how difficult is it to kill a Class 9 magical beast? Not to mention, Sangqiong is part of the Peng clan. Their speed is the greatest in the world, so he can move around as he wishes. If he wants to flee, neither of us can stop him. Then what do we do now? Do we just watch the winged tiger god grow rapidly in the hands of that human youngster? Lankiros furrowed his brows. He was extremely stern. The winged tiger god is growing much faster than we expected in the hands of that human youngster. I never thought it would reach Class 7 so quickly. If it has some more time, it probably won't take long before the winged tiger god grows to a level that we can't deal with. At that time, it'll become our calamity. We did try to harm it before after all. And its father's death is connected to me in a way I cannot hide. Kaiser also furrowed his brows tightly when he heard that. He was confident in his own strength and feared no one. Origin energy had also ceased in the world, so breaking through was much more difficult than before, which made it impossible to surpass Saint Emperor. As a result, it was almost impossible that the winged tiger god could grow to a point where it could threaten him. However, the winged tiger god's fame was just too great. It was the irrefutable beast god since the ancient times, and its scariness and talent were indescribable. Beasts of antiquity could not compare with it, which was why Kaiser felt a little worried as well. Kaiser stood silently for a very long time in the center of the 98th floor in thought. His eyes flickered, as he appeared hesitant. A while later, he seemed to finally make up his mind. His eyes suddenly stopped wavering, and he growled, "We can't drag out the matter of the winged tiger god any further. The human Saint Emperor just happens to want the winged tiger god as well. We have similar intentions to him, so maybe we can work together." Lankyros hesitated. Will he agree? He wants to benefit from the winged tiger god, which will be impossible for him unless he works with us. After all, that human youngster has the protection from two experts that I can't deal with, Kaiser growled. All right then. We'll go discuss it with the Path Lord of Carnal Desires later, Lankyros said helplessly. Afterward, Kaiser and Lankyros left the Beast God Hall together. They ripped open a space gate and proceeded to the Tianyuan continent. With their strength as Saint Emperors, the Protector clans could not discover them when they went to the Tianyuan continent, as long as they did not create too great of a disturbance. As a result, the agreement of no trespassing between the Beast God continent and the Tianyuan continent was purely ornamental to two of them, existing but without any real function. A ruddy old man silently appeared outside the 97th floor of the Beast God Hall after Kaiser and Lankyros had departed. He looked deeply in the direction that they traveled off to, as his expression changed constantly. He was one of the three rulers of the Beast God continent, the Peng Emperor Songqiong. Songqiong floated in the air as he stared off in the direction of the Tianyuan continent for a very long time. In the end, he sighed gently and shook his head, before returning to the Beast God Hall. He murmured gently, "The winged tiger god has the protection of the Dragon King, the divine golden dragon. It shouldn't face any dangers. But where did they get their origin energy armor and weapons from? I wonder about the sacred dragon's sword and sacred dragon's armor, in the hands of the golden divine dragon in particular. They are holy items of the Dragon Clan, that vanished with the disappearance of the Dragon Clan and the Divine Phoenix Clan all those years ago. Why would it suddenly appear in his hands? And according to my understanding from the records about the Dragon Clan, the two items don't possess origin energy at all." A majestic palace stood in the depths of the Cross Mountains. Class 6 magical beasts would constantly move around in its surroundings, entering and exiting from time to time. There was a plentiful number of them. The rare Class 6 magical beasts on the continent could be seen everywhere here, because this was where all the high-class magical beasts gathered. There were even quite a number of the Class 7 magical beasts, existences that were otherwise almost extinct on the rest of the continent. This was where all the power of Cross Mountains gathered, the Gilligan clan. A burly, middle-aged and bare-chested man meditated in a room within the Gilligan clan, as he cultivated. Powerful ripples of energy permeated his surroundings, which caused the space in the room to constantly tremble. He was the Tiger King of the two kings of the Gilligan clan that had almost killed Jianchen back when he left the Cross Mountains. The terrifying energy slowly settled down, and a while later, he opened his eyes gradually. A sliver of weakness was hidden deep within his eyes. I wonder when I can finally recover my strength at the second heavenly layer, the Tiger King murmured to himself. When he went to deal with Jianchen all those years ago, a great expert of the human race injured him in the crucial moment, which forced him to resort to a self-cannibalizing secret technique to flee. He was extremely injured, while his strength at the second heavenly layer had also fallen to the first. This made it extremely difficult to heal, where even after so much time, he still had yet to make a full recovery. The Tiger King stood up from the icy cold floor. He paced around the room with his brows furrowed. He seemed rather stern. I suddenly felt uneasy a few days ago, as if something big is going to happen, something extremely bad for me. Just what is going to happen? He murmured to himself. His eyes flickered as he revealed an expression of thought. He recollected everything that had happened in the past few years several times. Suddenly his eyes froze and he mumbled, "Is it because of the winged tiger god? Impossible. The winged tiger god is still young and weak. It's already extremely fortunate to be able to survive from the threat of the 10 protector clans. So why would it make me feel uneasy?" The Tiger King had always remained in seclusion to recover in the recent years, and had basically cut himself off from the outside world. His understanding of what had happened on the continent was rather limited. He knew that the 10 protector clans had basically scoured the continent for the winged tiger god. But he had no idea that Jian Chun had already returned forcefully with the winged tiger god. The barrier around the room suddenly disappeared. The door of the room opened, and the Tiger King disappeared. At the same time, a group of unwelcome guests had arrived in the depths of the Cross Mountains that was known to be forbidden to humans. Jian Chun entered the depths of the Cross Mountains with Yu, Heiyu, Rum Guinness, and the White Tiger brazenly. They flew toward the Gilligan clan in a threatening manner. They flew extremely quickly, shooting across the sky like comets. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. There were quite a few Class 7 magical beasts in the depths of the mountain range, so their threatening manner of arrival naturally alarmed many of them. Powerful presences immediately appeared in many areas, and 6 Class 7 magical beasts, in human form, shot toward Jian Chen's group from afar with lightning speed. They blocked the path of Jian Chen's group. A magical beast glanced across the 5 of them sharply and growled, "There are humans among you. Don't you know it's forbidden for humans to enter the Cross Mountains? All those who trespass the depths of the mountain range are to be killed without mercy." When he reached this point, he suddenly paused. He stared at Rum Guinness with shining eyes and cried out of surprise, "Rum Guinness, how is it you?" The other magical beasts all looked toward Rum Guinness as well. Their expressions changed and became extremely mixed. There was animosity as well as regret. Rum Guinness slowly made her way to the front. She looked at the Class 7 magical beasts with some emotions and said bitterly, "Elders, long time no see. I hope you are still well." The magical beasts all looked at each other. Then someone stepped forward. He pointed toward her and started to curse. "Rum Guinness, the River King said that your couple was working with humans, wanting to do horrible things to the Gilligan clan. We didn't really believe it at first, but by the looks of things he was right. You really are working with humans." "Working with humans," muttered Rum Guinness. Afterward she smiled sadly and said, "It's fine if the Tiger King tried to kill us. I never thought he'd incriminate us with such a great crime as well. Rum Guinness, since you've become a traitor of the Gilligan clan, you're our enemy. Elders, let's do it. Kill the traitor." Powerful ripples of energy immediately began to permeate from the Class 7 magical beasts. As soon as they finished these words, they were about to attack. Although they could not see through Jian Chun and Heiyu's strength, the Cross Mountains were their territory, so they feared nothing. Jian Chen's eyes grew cold. Just as he was about to draw his emperor armament, an earth-shaking tiger roar suddenly rang out from behind. It was extremely loud and echoed through the surroundings. It almost rang through the entire mountain range. The tiger roar possessed a great pressure, like the descent of a supreme lord. It was enough to make all bow down. This was the pressure of the winged tiger god. It possessed an ability to suppress magical beasts on a spirit level. So with the white tiger's roar, the entire mountain range became silent. All the Class 6 magical beasts, and those below, collapsed on the ground as fear filled their eyes. Even the Class 7 magical beasts they faced up against were stunned. They all forgot to attack, and stared at the white tiger by Rum Guinness' side in shock. A white-robed, middle-aged man suddenly snapped open his eyes as he cultivated inside the Gilligan clan. He leaped up from the ground and stared off into the distance in shock. He cried out, "The winged tiger god!" At the same time, the Tiger King also trembled violently when he heard the great roar right after he had left his room. Disbelief flooded his eyes and he called out involuntarily, "The winged tiger god. It's the call of the winged tiger god. It has actually come to the Cross Mountains." Chapter 1000. Revelation. The white tiger's angry roar shocked the entire mountain range. Its effects were undoubtedly earth-shaking. Not only did the expressions of all the Class 7 magical beasts inside the Gilligan clan change drastically, even the 2 kings were shocked. The Class 7 magical beasts that wanted to deal with Rum Guinness all changed drastically in expression. They stared at the awe-inspiring white tiger that had its wings unfolded in midair as shock and disbelief flooded their eyes. Is this the winged tiger god?" A human form Class 7 magical beast elder growled. The pressure from the white tiger caused his soul to tremble. And the two wings on its back had basically allowed them to realize the white tiger's identity in that instant. They were all magical beasts after all, and high-ranking Class 7 magical beasts as a matter of fact. A human would probably not recognize the white tiger at first glance, but its identity was no secret if it appeared before any Class 7 magical beast, unless the white tiger had erased its presence. How is this possible? Just how is this possible? The great beast god has actually appeared once more. A Class 7 magical beast cried out. A pair of wings on its back, and able to make my soul shudder. It can't be wrong. It can't be wrong. It is indeed a winged tiger god that has only appeared in the ancient times. Our great beast god has actually appeared once again. The Class 7 magical beasts all cried out emotionally. The winged tiger god's supreme status was irreplaceable among magical beasts, to the point where even the 3 supreme experts of the beast god continent came nowhere close to replacing it. This was because it was the indisputable god of the beast god continent, and the god in the eyes of all magical beasts. Even after countless years, its prestige had not suffered at all. As a result, the Class 7 magical beasts became emotional and excited after they confirmed the white tiger's identity. They had ceased to be threatening like before long ago. We greet the great beast god. The magical beasts all knelt down to greet the white tiger. Their voices were filled with respect. Elders, please rise. The speaker was Rum Guinness, who stood behind the white tiger. However, the elders ignored her. One of them glared at Rum Guinness angrily and called out furiously, "Do you still have any rights to talk to us as a trader of the magical beasts, Rum Guinness? Our god is right here. Just wait until you face the stern judgment of the beast god." Anguish filled Rum Guinness' eyes. She slowly walked up to the white tiger's side and gently rubbed its head, placating the white tiger's anger. The white tiger did not resist. Its great presence slowly subsided, and it closed its eyes comfortably. The magical beasts all watched this scene unfolded in a dumbstruck fashion as they knelt in the air. They all became filled with shock and disbelief. With its pride and status as a beast god, how could the winged tiger god let anyone touch it like that? Yet, not only did it fail to show any signs of resistance, it even closed its eyes comfortably. The magical beasts on their knees directly began to doubt their eyes when they saw this. Rum Guinness actually has such a close relationship with the winged tiger god. Is this good or bad? How are we going to deal with Rum Guinness' betrayal this way? Similar worries appeared in the minds of the elders. Elders, do you really believe that I, Rum Guinness, has betrayed the magical beasts? Have you never doubted the truthfulness of the Tiger King's words? Rum Guinness said painfully. The magical beasts immediately began to stare blankly after they heard these words. They looked at each other, and one of them asked, "Rum Guinness, does that mean that there's another story to your betrayal of the Gilligan clan?" All of them focused their gazes on Rum Guinness and waited for her answer. She nodded her head and said, "There are indeed a hidden truth to this matter. The betrayal of my husband and I, our betrayal of the Gilligan clan, was completely a lie forged by the Tiger King. The Tiger King wanted to eliminate our family. You've all been deceived by the Tiger King." The magical beast elders all became surprised with what Rum Guinness had said. What? Lies forged by the Tiger King? The Tiger King wanted to eliminate you? Rum Guinness, are you sure you're not trying to trick us? Rum Guinness, may I ask if you have any evidence regarding this? The Tiger King has no ill feelings toward your couple, let alone the fact that your husband was the brother of the Tiger King. Why would he want to eliminate your family? Rum Guinness, if you don't give us a logical explanation, we won't be believing you. The elders all spoke out. Very few of them believed Rum Guinness' words. After all, the Tiger King was one of the 2 kings of the clan. The prestige he possessed was just too great in the eyes of the elders. Rum Guinness looked toward the white tiger beside her, and her face immediately became kind. She said slowly, "It's all because of my child, because my child is the winged tiger god." What? The winged tiger god is your child? The elders all cried out in shock and disbelief as soon as Rum Guinness finished speaking. They all glanced past the winged tiger god, and Rum Guinness once again in surprise. This piece of information was just too astounding to them. In no way less surprising than an actual bolt from the blue. The shock in the elders' hearts had peaked at this moment in time. They all struggled to believe that the winged tiger god was actually Rum Guinness' child. At this moment, several dozen tremendous presences appeared in all directions. The white tiger's roar had rung through the entire mountain range and alerted all the high-class magical beasts in the area. All the Class 7 magical beasts made their way toward the group. In that instant, more than 40 individuals of various ages had gathered around Jian Chen's group. They all radiated with a great presence. All Class 7 magical beasts in human form. Yu became rather nervous as soon as she became surrounded by them. However, she relaxed slightly after she saw how calm Jian Chen was as he stood beside her. After all, she did not face up against a group of humans this time, but a group of Class 7 magical beasts in the Cross Mountains that were known to be forbidden to humans. As soon as the magical beasts gathered, they all looked toward the awe-inspiring winged tiger god with no exception. Surprise and doubt flooded their eyes. It's the winged tiger god. It really is the winged tiger god. That's the winged tiger god of our magical beast race. I never thought that our beast god would finally appear once more after so many years. Very quickly, a few of the Class 7 magical beasts recognized the winged tiger god's identity and immediately cried out emotionally. They were ecstatic. However, there were other Class 7 magical beasts among them who became rather ugly in expression as well. Jian Chen glanced past all the Class 7 magical beasts nonchalantly and silently took note of their expressions. He paid particular attention to the ones who revealed rather ugly expressions once they saw the winged tiger god. He memorized them in detail. Chapter 1001. Eliminating the Tiger King. 1. I greet the great beast god. A Class 7 magical beast knelt down first in human form as he cried out emotionally. Jian Chen glanced past the magical beast, and his nonchalant gaze suddenly froze. He recognized this magical beast. It was the ape king of the spirit apes he had met many years ago at the border of the Cross Mountains. The ape king had obtained a large quantity of heavenly resources and the very precious 100-grass wine. A few other Class 7 magical beasts that viewed the winged tiger god as their god did not hesitate either. Like the ape king, they all dropped to their knees and called out loudly, "We greet the beast god." The faces of the magical beasts with rather ugly expressions changed once more after they saw so many people kneel down. In the end, they could only kneel obediently as well, and they called out loudly like the others. However, their voices lacked emotion and were extremely calm. In the blink of an eye, all the magical beasts that had hurried over threateningly from the depths of Cross Mountains were on their knees. They only seemed to look at the winged tiger god and directly ignored Rum Guinness, Jian Chen, Yu, and He Yu beside the white tiger. Jian Chen suddenly looked into a distance. Immediately, a gleam of light flashed across his eyes when he spotted a white-robed, scholarly middle-aged man flying over unhurriedly. He seemed ordinary with no presence at all, just like He Yu. He had erased his presence as well. However, Jian Chen's presence was more powerful. Under his senses, he could see through the man's strength completely despite the other party's erased presence. Second heavenly layer of Saint King, thought Jian Chen. However, he did not care too much, as experts at such a level could no longer threaten him thanks to his current strength. The man directly arrived before all the Class 7 magical beasts and looked at the winged tiger god with mixed emotions. He did not kneel down like the others and bowed instead. He said calmly, "I greet the beast god." The man was much more composed than the other Class 7 magical beasts. After he bowed to the winged tiger god, he glanced to Jian Chen's group. He could tell that Jian Chen and Yu were humans, but he remained calm. He did not show any hostility. Rum Guinness's face also became mixed when she saw this man. After a slight hesitation, she bowed to the man and said, "Rum Guinness greets the Pung King." A thought flashed through Jian Chen's head when he heard how Rum Guinness referred to the man. Pung King? The Gilligan clan has 2 kings. One of them is the Tiger King. So does that mean the man before us is the second king of the clan? The Pung King looked toward Rum Guinness, and a warm smile immediately formed on his face. "Rum Guinness, welcome back. It has been difficult for you in the past years." He knew all about the hidden truth when Rum Guinness and her husband were pursued by the Tiger King, except he was unable to prevent it or stop it. After all, Kaiser of the Beast God continent was the instigator behind the scenes. All he could do was watch the events unfold, as the two of them suffered from the Tiger King. The Pung King is too kind. I have stopped being a member of the clan long ago. Rum Guinness' voice was rather cold. Although the Pung King did not take part in the hunt for her and her husband, she did not know where the Pung King stood. As a result, she was extremely cautious of him, and even possessed some hostility. The Pung King could naturally feel how Rum Guinness treated him. If an elder was so impolite to him before, he would definitely teach her a lesson. But it was different now. Rum Guinness was the mother of the winged tiger god, so her status was drastically different from before. Even as a king of the Gilligan clan, he needed to treat her politely and would fear offending her. This was why the Pung King could only smile indifferently toward how Rum Guinness reacted, and he said nothing more. Suddenly, a tremendous presence appeared. A burly, bare-chested middle-aged man flew over quickly in a threatening manner. His face was extremely dark while his eyes were cold as dense killing intent flickered inside. Jian Chen's gaze also began to sharpen, becoming like drawn swords. He stared closely in the direction of the presence, and heavy killing intent appeared in his eyes as well. He made no effort to conceal it. Despite the distance, he could tell from first glance that it was the Tiger King. This individual had come out of Cross Mountains all those years ago to hunt down Xiaobai, and had almost claimed his life. In the blink of an eye, the Tiger King arrived before everyone and stood beside the Pung King. He maintained a 50-meter distance from Jian Chen's group. Hatred surged in Rum Guinness' eyes as soon as she saw the Tiger King. She gnashed her teeth and said, "Tiger King, you've probably never thought that I'd still be alive. Today my son and I will personally kill you and tear you to shreds to take revenge for my husband." Her voice was riddled with emotion. The Tiger King paid no attention to Rum Guinness and stared darkly at the white tiger. A gleam of light flickered through his eyes, and he thought, the growth of the winged tiger god really is terrifying. I never thought that it could reach class 7 in such a short amount of time after being born. If it gets some more time, reaching class 8 would be no problem for it. But he's no threat to me before he actually reaches class 8. Afterwards, the Tiger King glanced past Jian Chen's group. He directly ignored Yu, but when he saw Jian Chen and Yu, his eyes narrowed by an undetectable amount. He could not see through their strength. Jian Chen's presence was covered up by the Saint artifact, which was impossible to see through with the Tiger King's current abilities. As for Yu, he was a Saint King at great perfection. He was even greater than 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Kings, so if he erased his presence, the Tiger King could not see through it at all. Jian Chen was only at the 3rd Heavenly Layer of Saint Ruler the last time I saw him. No matter how outstanding his talent is, it's impossible for him to reach a level where I can't see through his strength in these short few years. The two of them are standing toward the back, so they clearly aren't anyone important. Looks like they've hidden their presence using a special method, but they aren't very strong. They're just faking it, thought the Tiger King. He immediately relaxed, before looking toward Rum Guinness and the white tiger once again. The light in his eyes flickered. Jian Chen sneered. "Tiger King, you've probably never thought that we'd meet again so soon. Last time, you left the Cross Mountains to come find me on the Tianyuan continent. Yet this time, I've come to find you in the depths of the Cross Mountains. You heavily wounded me last time, almost making me pass away. This is an irreconcilable matter. I will be taking my revenge today." The elders of the Gilligan clan all looked up at the Tiger King after they heard these words. They were all surprised. The Gilligan clan had an agreement with the humans, which stated that any magical beast beyond class 7 could not step outside the Cross Mountains. Otherwise, the human experts would mercilessly slaughter them. Although the Gilligan clan was the greatest force within the Cross Mountains, their true strength was only equivalent to the ancient clans among humans. They were not the opponents of the entire human race at all. The only reason they had this territory was because the Beast God continent was supporting them from behind, so the world beyond the boundaries of the Cross Mountains were a forbidden zone that the elders of the clan could not trespass. However, never did they think that the Tiger King had crossed it and trespassed into the Tianyuan continent despite the consequences. They found this unbelievable. The Tiger King became enraged when he heard these words. If it were not for Jian Chun, who put his life on the line to protect the winged tiger god, the white tiger would have ended up in his hands long ago. The supreme human experts would not have been alerted, and he would not have been forced to use a secret technique to flee, cannibalizing his cultivation, which dropped from the second heavenly layer to the first. He had yet to recover even today. You dare to say such even with your limited abilities? Such impudence. You interfered with what I was doing last time. You're lucky for being able to live a little longer, but since you've trespassed my cross mountains today, don't think you can leave alive, the Tiger King said with gnashed teeth. He blamed Jianchen for everything, so he felt an intense hatred for him. Tiger King, why don't you try me if you're so confident? I'd like to see how you prevent me from ever leaving the cross mountains again, sneered Jianchen. Killing intent bloomed in his eyes. You arrogant brat. I'll deal with you after I deal with my family, the Tiger King said with a darkened face. Then, he looked toward Rum Guinness and said coldly, Rum Guinness, you're actually working with humans as an elder of the Gilligan clan. Your crimes cannot be forgiven, and you shall be put to death on the spot. The Tiger King suddenly appeared next to Rum Guinness as soon as he finished speaking. Surging energy condensed in his palm, and he struck out. This palm strike did not target Rum Guinness, but the winged tiger god beside her. The Pung King's eyes narrowed, and he sighed gently inside. He did not plan on interfering. He did not dare to interfere, as the connected matters were just too important. It was no longer a battle between him and the Tiger King. It would directly tie into the matters of the beast god continent if he interfered. Chapter 1002. Eliminating the Tiger King 2. The Tiger King held nothing back with his palm strike toward the winged tiger god. It shot out with a great might that almost caused the surrounding space to shatter. However, the space suddenly froze in the next moment. The Tiger King had used his spatial force to freeze it. This firmly immobilized the white tiger and prevented it from fleeing. Although the white tiger was a winged tiger god, it was still a Class 7 magical beast after all. A huge gap existed between it and Class 8 magical beasts, so it was unable to go up against the Saint King Tiger King with its current strength. However, the reactions of the white tiger were in no way slow. It growled deeply and shot backward in the form of a white blur. It moved with lightning speed in this crucial moment. It retreated to 20 meters away. The frozen space of the Tiger King was unable to trap it. The Tiger King's attack missed. The terrifying energy explosion actually surpassed the endurance of the space there, and immediately caused space to cave in. It formed a hole the size of a pot, as the space around it distorted randomly. A gleam of light immediately flashed across the Tiger King's eyes when he saw the winged tiger god break free from his frozen space. However, he did not stop at all. He pushed away the empty space, and arrived before the white tiger with a single step. He swung his hand, and the energy of the world began to condense quickly. Then it formed a 10-meter wide hand that grabbed at the white tiger. The huge hand enveloped a region of space, and locked the white tiger out of all possibilities and directions of escape. The Tiger King had moved extremely suddenly, coupled with his great speed. Rum Guinness, and the other Class 7 magical beasts in the surroundings had just noticed him. Their faces changed instantly when they saw that the Tiger King wanted to kill the winged tiger god. How dare you, Tiger King? The winged tiger god is the publicly acknowledged god of magical beasts. You are disrespecting the beast god. Have you betrayed us, magical beasts? Rum Guinness called out in panic. She spoke extremely sharply, before she lunged toward the Tiger King regardless of the danger. She tried to stop him. The Pung King floated in place as he watched everything unfold. The light in his eyes constantly flickered. He was hesitating. Many people among the elders of the Gilligan clan were confused. They did not know why the Tiger King had suddenly attacked the winged tiger god, so they all became stunned there. They had never considered the possibility of the Tiger King trying to kill the winged tiger god. Only a small portion of them knew the truth to what had happened all those years ago. And the Ape King was one of them. The Tiger King is trying to kill our god. Elders, stop him with me. The Ape King called out, as he charged towards the Tiger King first. A few elders who did not know about the truth were astounded by the Ape King's words. Many of them immediately charged toward the Tiger King despite the danger, as they wanted to stop the Tiger King from laying his hands on the winged tiger. The Tiger King was a king of the Gilligan clan, and possessed great prestige among the elders, but the winged tiger god was the god of magical beasts. It stood as a great god in the eyes of those elders, worthy of the respect and support of all magical beasts. As such, these elders had chosen to stand on the side of the winged tiger god, given the situation without any second thought. However, it was too late. The Tiger King's attacks were just too fast, and it was nowhere near something that the Class 7 magical beasts could block. The huge hand condensed by the Tiger King had encased the white tiger completely, and it quickly tightened its grasp. It tried to crush the white tiger to death forcefully. At this moment, a devastating energy suddenly appeared. It flooded the sky, and its terrifying might and chilling presence surprised all the high-class magical beasts in the mountain range. Jianchen suddenly appeared in this crucial moment. His left hand was around Yu Yu's waist, while a layer of dark, beautiful chaotic force covered his right. He hurled the energy toward the Tiger King's condensed hand with lightning speed. Boom! A deafening sound immediately erupted when the two supreme energies collided in mid-air. Terrifying residual energy rocked the surroundings and swept out in all directions in the form of a ripple. The clash between Saint Kings was undoubtedly devastating. The surrounding space would immediately distort to its limit wherever the ripple of energy passed, as if it would cave in and shatter. Clouds of dust were kicked up into the air as the ground cracked. 10 whole mountains collapsed from the residual energy. Rock slides were triggered everywhere, which caused the ground to constantly shake as they produced rumbles. Jianchen easily dispersed the Tiger King's hand. The residual energy knocked the Tiger King back, which caused him to backpedal a few steps. Filled him with shock. All the Class 7 magical beasts that had charged up in an attempt to stop the Tiger King all came to a stop from the energy, before they retreated helplessly. Even Rum Guinness was affected. Jianchen punched out a second time to stop the incoming energy ripples and to prevent Yu Yu from being harmed. The Peng King stood several dozen meters away unmovingly. He stared at Jianchen in interest, and his heart finally settled. He could not help but smile as he thought, "Looks like I've been worrying too much. The winged tiger god really does have something to count on for coming to the depths of the Cross Mountains despite knowing that the Tiger King wants to harm him. How is this possible? How can this be possible? How did you become so strong in such a short amount of time?" The Tiger King cried out. Jianchen sneered. "Nothing is impossible. Tiger King, today will be the day you die." With that, Jianchen arrived before the Tiger King. He slapped toward the Tiger King's chest with a palm full of destructive chaotic force. Jianchen did not need to resort to the Emperor armament when he fought an injured first heavenly layer Saint King. The Tiger King roared angrily and darkness-attributed energy surged wildly from him. His hands turned into huge tiger paws and clawed at Jianchen's hand. Only when the claws came into contact with Jianchen's hand did the Tiger King discover in shock that his full-powered attack could not harm Jianchen at all. Crack! In the next moment, the sound of bones breaking rang out clearly. The Tiger King's paws had already become bent. Jianchen's hand broke his paws when they collided. The Tiger King groaned deeply. The agony made him pale slightly. He glanced at Jianchen in shock. Then he immediately shot backward. He reappeared 100 meters away. "Impossible, impossible. This is impossible. When I saw you last time, you were only a mere saint ruler, and could not even resist before me. Only 10 years have passed, so how has your strength reached such a level?" The Tiger King glanced past his broken arms and looked at Jianchen. He became stunned as he murmured with a deep voice. He struggled to accept everything unfolding before his eyes. Chapter 1003. Eliminating the Tiger King 3. Jianchen stared at the shocked Tiger King coldly and sneered. Tiger King, I'd like to see how you escape from me today. Pay for what you did all those years ago. With that, Jianchen moved slightly and appeared before the Tiger King, crossing the several dozen meters in an instant. He struck toward the Tiger King once more with a hand that radiated with a destructive aura. The Tiger King roared at the sky, and a dazzling golden light immediately coated his body. It illuminated the surroundings and was extremely blinding. The Tiger King immediately turned into a golden-furred tiger within the light. His true form was a gold-fur Tiger King. Although the species was nowhere near the level of a beast of antiquity, it was still a so-called king within tiger magical beasts. TL. The same species that killed Kindle #NeverForget. The Tiger King opened its huge mouth and produced an earth-shaking roar at Jianchen. A ball of compressed fist-sized darkness-attributed energy shot out from the Tiger King's mouth. It headed toward Jianchen with lightning speed. The surroundings darkened slightly with the appearance of this ball of energy. Even the surrounding temperature seemed to plummet. Boom! Jianchen's fist struck the ball of energy, and a loud sound immediately ran out. Terrifying residual energy swept through the surroundings, which caused the sky to shake and the space to crack. The space of the Tianyuan continent was nowhere as tough as the space in the Sea Realm. Just Saint rulers were enough to break through the space on the Tianyuan continent, so every time Saint Kings clashed, they would show signs of utterly destroying the surroundings. This time, the collisions of Jianchen and the Tiger King's attacks caused the entire Cross Mountains to shake. All the mountains had cracked in the depths of the mountain range, with countless collapsed together. The terrified cries of countless magical beasts filled the air. Jianchen resisted the dark energy with his body and suffered no injuries. On the other hand, the Tiger King became slightly weaker after he spat out the energy ball. Even at his peak condition, he was nowhere near Jianchen's opponent, let alone now where he was still injured, and his strength was reduced. A human expert has trespassed our Cross Mountains. Get him, elders of the Gilligan clan. Chase out the human. Peng King, why aren't you helping out? Said the Tiger King in human tongue, after he turned to the Peng King and the elders. His voice was hoarse, and he tried to get the entire Gilligan clan to fight Jianchen. The Peng King stood with his arms crossed as he watched on from afar. He observed Jianchen in interest, but he did not step forward to help anyone. He did not show any intentions of interfering either. He had directly ignored the Tiger King's words. The elders of the Gilligan clan were knocked afar by the terrifying residual energy. They were all scattered quite a distance from the location of Jianchen and the Tiger King's battle. They all stared at Jianchen in shock. Right now, all of them could tell that Jianchen was a human Saint King, and one that the Tiger King could not beat. The elders all looked at each other as they floated in the distance. They appeared hesitant. The trespassing of a human expert in the Cross Mountains was indeed something that they could not bear with. But the person this time was just a little too terrifying. They did not dare to charge up recklessly, as that would just be charging to their deaths. Afterward, all the elders looked toward the Peng King. They decided not to interfere either, as they saw the Peng King's actions. As such, they behaved as if they did not hear what the Tiger King had said. Tiger King, you even dare to plot against the god of your continent. This is heresy. I'd like to see who'll help you now, Jianchen said coldly. He punched out again and struck the Tiger King's back. It broke and completely caved in, while the violent force knocked him down. He struck the ground heavily. The ground became covered with cracks and formed a huge crater. Jianchen did not stop and descended. Just when the Tiger King climbed to his feet, Jianchen kicked the Tiger King's head heavily, which knocked him into the air once more. Jianchen could kill the Tiger King with no difficulty, but that was not what he wanted, as it would let the Tiger King off too easily. As a result, he wanted to crush the Tiger King's pride as a Class 8 magical beast. The Tiger King landed heavily 50 meters away. He shook his head as he had become rather dizzy after Jianchen kicked him. Then he looked toward Jianchen viciously. He said in human tongue, "It's not that easy if you want to kill me. Jianchen, I will make you regret the idiotic things you have done today sooner or later." Bright, blood-red light suddenly encased the Tiger King. It was extremely dazzling, and by the time it had dimmed, the Tiger King had disappeared. He had used a secret technique to flee in magical beast form. Jianchen's expression changed slightly when he saw the Tiger King suddenly vanish. He immediately closed his eyes and expanded his presence to its limits in an attempt to locate the Tiger King. He has actually vanished. Jianchen opened his eyes again very quickly. He became pale white, because he could not find the Tiger King within the expanse of his presence. At this moment, Heiyu suddenly began to smile sarcastically. He had always been standing at the very back silently, but he broke that silence now. I know where he ran off to. Jianchen's face lit up when he heard this. He immediately turned to Heiyu and asked, "Senior, please tell me where the Tiger King is. He can't escape." A gleam of light flickered through the Peng King's eyes. He immediately looked toward Heiyu doubtfully. Heiyu nodded slightly and said, "There's no need to panic, Brother Jianchen. I'll bring him over here right now." Heiyu casually swung his hand and ripped open space. A space gate formed quickly. In a region of wilderness 100,000 kilometers outside the Cross Mountains, a huge tiger crawled extremely weakly on the ground with matted, bloody fur. It seemed to even lack the strength to stand up. It was the Tiger King who had just fled. "Jianchen, you won't be able to live much longer. As soon as I recover some strength, I'll immediately report everything that has happened here to the ruler of the Beast God continent," the Tiger King muttered hoarsely with a vicious look. Suddenly his expression changed. He stared fixedly at the space up ahead as it began to distort wildly. A space gate quickly began to form as he stared helplessly. Crap. The Tiger King became terrified. Just as he struggled to climb to his feet, a huge hand condensed from energy reached out from the space gate, grabbing him and dragging him in. Only when the Tiger King passed through the space gate did he discover that he had returned to the depths of the Cross Mountains. "You don't have the power to flee before me, so quite wasting your energy," an old voice boomed. The Tiger King turned toward the sound. The black-clothed Heiyu stood beside him. The Tiger King's heart immediately turned cold. Despair permeated his heart. He knew that his conjectures were wrong. The old man behind him was a terrifyingly powerful expert. Chapter 1004. Gathering of Three Saint Emperors. Tiger King, why don't you keep running? Why aren't you running anymore? Jianchen jeered at the Tiger King as he flew over from afar. The Tiger King showed no fear, even though he knew that it was almost impossible for him to avoid this disaster. He looked at Jianchen with hatred, while his vicious gaze seemed like he had a blood feud with Jianchen. "If I knew that this would happen today, I should have killed you immediately when I met you the first time. How else would you have been able to survive today?" The Tiger King gnashed his teeth. Regret flooded his heart. A cold light flashed across Jianchen's eyes when he heard these words. He kicked the Tiger King's chest and blood sprayed from the latter's mouth. "It's a pity that time can't run backward. You are now my captive, and your life is in my hands. You have no right or power to kill me," Jianchen said coldly. Kill or torture if you want, but if you kill me, a great disaster will fall your way as well. The Beast God continent definitely will not just stand by with human experts trespassing and acting brazenly in the territory of my Beast God continent," the Tiger King said coldly. He still did not know that Jianchen now possessed the power to resist the experts of the Beast God continent. "Savior, can you let the two of us deal with the Tiger King? The Tiger King killed my husband and even wanted to harm us all those years ago. We have an irreconcilable hatred for him. I am a magical beast as well, so if I deal with the Tiger King, even the Beast God continent can't say anything," said Rum Guinness in consideration of Jianchen. Jianchen nodded and said, "All right then. I'll leave the Tiger King to you." Although Jianchen did not fear the Beast God continent, Rum Guinness and the White Tigers had an intenser hatred for the Tiger King. It was more suitable for the two of them to take the Tiger King's life. "Rum Guinness, you're a traitor of the magical beasts, and you want to overthrow the hierarchy?" The Tiger King glared at Rum Guinness as he called out feebly. He tried very hard to maintain a dignified appearance, but it was an utter failure with his currently dejected look. "Tiger King, my child is the winged tiger god. Even the rulers of the Beast continent needs to treat him politely when they meet him. Not only have you failed to respect the winged tiger god, But you even tried to harm him time after time. What do you think you're trying to do? The one who's trying to overthrow the hierarchy is you. Rum Guinness said sharply, before she slowly arrived before the Tiger King. Hatred surged in her eyes and she gnashed her teeth. She asked, Tiger King, did you ever think you would end up like today when you harmed my husband and I? Oomph, snorted the Tiger King. Then, he closed his eyes and stopped talking, acting as if he was waiting for his death. Jianchen first heavily injured him, and then he used a secret technique to flee. These actions made him suffer a great backlash and had deepened his wounds. He could not even stand up right now, much less run away. The Tiger King did not beg for his life, because he knew it would be useless. Rum Guinness looked at the Tiger King hatefully as crystal-clear tears ran down her face. She mumbled, Husband, you were killed mercilessly by your own brother back then. Today, I will be taking revenge for you. I hope you don't blame me for killing your brother. He's unworthy of being your brother. Rum Guinness slowly raised her hand. Immediately, a powerful energy surged out, and she struck the Tiger King's head with lightning speed. No one stopped Rum Guinness from killing the Tiger King. The Pung King floated in the distance calmly, though his eyes were filled with some mixed feelings. They were both kings of the Gilligan clan, and had quite a few years of friendship. He found it a little hard to bear watching the Tiger King die so helplessly before him. The elders in the surroundings all stared with wide eyes. The light in quite a few people's eyes constantly flickered as they hesitated. They wanted to save the Tiger King, but no one dared to do anything in the end. Bang! The Tiger King's head immediately exploded as Rum Guinness' attack landed. Bloody white matter flew in all directions. At the same time, a white ball of light emerged from the destroyed head and shot toward the distance with lightning speed. It was the soul of the Tiger King. Jianchen sneered. With a thought, the space before him froze in an instant. It trapped and immobilized the Tiger King's soul. You should understand that any attempts to flee before me is futile, Tiger King, Jianchen said coldly. Roar! The white tiger roared at the sky from beside Jianchen, before it turned into a white blur and entered Jianchen's frozen space. It bit the Tiger King's soul viciously, tearing it to shreds and making it disperse. The Tiger King's soul slowly vanished in the surroundings, and a roar filled with regret seemed to ring out vaguely. The depths of the Cross Mountains fell into silence. A Class 8 magical beast, equivalent to a human Saint King, had just disappeared from the world forever. Moreover, it was one of the kings of the Gilligan clan. This matter left all the elders dumbstruck. The Pung King stared at the Tiger King's dispersing soul blankly and sighed inside. This was how the Tiger King, someone equal to him, had died and disappeared permanently. Rum Guinness hung in the air as tears gushed down her cheeks like a fountain. Her buried desire for revenge was finally fulfilled after so many years. Husband, do you see this? Your cold-hearted brother has finally died in the hands of your wife and child. We've avenged you. Rum Guinness murmured gently as she looked at the sky. At the same time, two burly middle-aged men stood with their hands behind their backs in an ancient mountain range far, far away from the Cross Mountains. They stood nonchalantly on the tallest sword-shaped mountain, as they allowed the wind to blow wildly around them. They stood unmoving like statues. If someone else were present, they would get an illusion from time to time that these two were a part of the world. They seemed inseparable from the surroundings. At this moment, the space above a mountain 2,000 meters from them began to twist violently. It quickly formed a space gate, and an evil-looking, middle-aged man in white robes emerged. The man floated in the air and looked toward the two people from afar. Only after a while did he speak slowly. Kaiser, Tiger Emperor, I never thought it was the two of you. Path Lord of the Carnal Desires, how have you been? Lankiros asked nonchalantly, have the two of you forgotten the agreement between my Tian Yuan continent and your beast god continent? You've trespassed the territory of the Tian Yuan continent once again. So please leave immediately. The Path Lord's voice was extremely calm and possessed no emotions whatsoever. Kaiser said, Human Saint Emperor, we'll get straight to the point. We have personally come from the beast god continent because we want to work with you for something. A light flickered through the Path Lord's eyes when he heard this. he asked after a while of silence. What is it? Chapter 1005. Hong Lian. It regards the winged tiger god, Kaiser said slowly. He gazed mercilessly toward the Path Lord of carnal desires. The Path Lord's expression remained the same. He had already guessed that it would be related to the winged tiger god when Kaiser stated he wanted to work together. After some more silence and pondering, the Path Lord asked, "What are the details of working together?" The Tiger Emperor said, "Human Saint Emperor, you're a smart person as well, so you should know why we want the winged tiger god. The winged tiger god is the god of the magical beasts, so how can we allow a human youngster to raise it as a pet? However, that youngster has two experts protecting him, and they possess origin energy treasures that protect them, which makes even Saint Emperor unable to do anything to them. As a result, I want you to help us out and keep one of them busy. Once the winged tiger god matures, it'll surpass Saint Emperor. No one can contend with it other than the greatest human expert Mo Tianyuan in the ancient times. Do you really think that I'll help you and bring a calamity to my Tianyuan continent?" The Path Lord said coldly. Kaiser and Langkiros had expected the Path Lord to say this long ago. Their expressions remained calm and Kaiser said, "Human Saint Emperor, you are over-worrying. The winged tiger god will not invade your Tianyuan continent, even if it fully matures, because your continent has nothing that tempts us. Only the beast god continent is truly suitable for us magical beasts, so you don't need to worry about that." Kaiser continued, "There must be something on the winged tiger god that tempts you as well. If you agree to work with us, we'll give you 10 drops of the winged tiger god's essence blood as remuneration. You should know exactly how precious its essence blood is, so I don't need to explain any further." The Path Lord's eyes immediately lit up when he heard them mention the essence blood. A sliver of greed appeared in the very depths of his eyes. Kaiser and Langkiros did not continue to speak. Instead, they stared at the Path Lord in interest as they waited silently for his reply. "All right, I'll work with you. I'll keep one of them busy." The Path Lord of carnal desires agreed in the end after quite some hesitation. He really did need the essence blood very much, and the only way to obtain it was to work with Kaiser and the Tiger Emperor. This was the only way to keep the two experts besides the winged tiger god busy. "Ha ha ha, I hope we can work together happily," said Kaiser as he laughed aloud. He was filled with confidence now that the Path Lord had promised to aid them. Langkiros also smiled as an indiscernible sliver of excitement appeared in the depths of his eyes. He thought, "Looks like it'll not be long until the day I enter the 99th floor of the Beast God Hall and receive the winged tiger god's legacy." "Kaiser, you really are a good helper of mine." At this moment, Kaiser and Langkiros' faces changed drastically. They revealed horrible expression in that moment, and an unsuppressible rage began to radiate from them. It caused the surrounding air to freeze. Their sudden change mildly surprised the Path Lord. He immediately became cautious and asked, "What happened?" "Someone killed the person we planted in the Cross Mountains," Langkiros growled. His face darkened to the point that it became terrifying. Kaiser gently closed his eyes and said coldly, "That brat must have done it. How dare he breaks the rules of the humans and trespass the depths of the Cross Mountains? Does he really think that we magical beasts are easy to oppress?" A dense killing intent flickered in Langkiro's eyes. He said, "We just happened to want to find him, but I never thought he would come provoking us instead. We can't let him go this time. Let's go to the Cross Mountains right away." Rue Jin stood with his arms crossed, and at leisure in a scorching region covered with volcanoes. He stared silently at the volcano that constantly churned magma. At this moment, the magma began to surge more and more violently. A layer of white flames shot out from the opening. They were terrifyingly hot, and turned the surrounding rock into red lava, and widened the volcano opening. Bang! The lava suddenly exploded, and a clarion phoenix cry pierced the sky. A huge phoenix had shot out from the lava. She was coated in terrifying flames. As she circled around in the sky, immediately, the surrounding temperature began to skyrocket, and even the surroundings turned red. "Hong Lian, congratulations on successfully reaching great perfection. Though you were a little slower than Heiyu, Ruijin smiled at the phoenix as he stood near the volcano. The flames that gushed out from the volcano failed to get any closer to him. The phoenix flew around 2 more times before her scorching white flames began to disperse. In the end, she transformed into a slender woman, who seemed to be in her 20s. As she descended slowly, she wore a long red dress, while her crimson hair shone like raging flames. She was extremely pretty, and as enchanting as a picturesque drawing. She was the scorching divine phoenix who had left the artifact space with Ruijin and the others, Hong Lian. She was already at the peak of the 8th heavenly layer, when she had first left the Saint artifact, only an inch away from the 9th. The energy of the world was much denser outside than within the artifact space, so she immediately found a perfect place to seclude herself as soon as she had come out. After so many years of cultivation, not only did she reach the 9th heavenly layer successfully, she had even surpassed it and reached great perfection. Hong Lian landed slowly next to Ruijin and said with some surprise, "Ruijin, what did you say? Heiyu has reached great perfection before me?" "Yep," smiled Ruijin. He was happy to see Hong Lian, as there were not many people who had the right to be his friends in the artifact space. There was only Heiyu and her. How is that possible? When we first broke free, Heiyu had just reached the 8th heavenly layer. So how did he reach great perfection before me? Hong Lian found this unbelievable. Heiyu did not bother to explain. With a flip of his hands, a piece of armor completely forged from blood-red plumage, and an exquisite red hairpin appeared. A pearl-like white bead was attached to the red piece of armor. "Hong Lian, look at what these items are." Ruijin smiled as he held the armor and hairpin. Chapter 1006. Legacy Treasures. Hong Lian's gaze suddenly froze when Ruijin produced the crimson piece of armor. She stared blankly at it, and the exquisite red hairpin. She could swear that it was the first time she had seen these 2 items. Yet she felt a sense of familiarity toward the piece of armor and the hairpin. To her disbelief, she actually felt a weird bloodline connection to them, as if the feathermail and hairpin were items that solely belonged to her. Hong Lian stared blankly at the feathermail in Ruijin's hands. Her eyes hazed over as she thought long and hard as to where she had seen these items, as well as why they made her feel like she was familiar with them. Suddenly, a locked memory appeared. Information from her inherited memories surged forth, which immediately allowed her to understand what these items were and why she felt so familiar with them. These are the legacy treasures of my scorching divine phoenix clan. The 9 refined godfire feathermail, and the scorching godfire hairpin. Hong Lian cried out involuntarily. Disbelief flooded her face, as the scorching divine phoenix clan and the dragon clan had already vanished from the world. These 2 treasures had naturally vanished with the clan, so they should not have been able to reappear in the world. Yet, Ruijin was actually holding those 2 exact items, which she found unbelievable. Correct. These are indeed legacy treasures of your clan, the 9 refined godfire feathermail, and the scorching godfire hairpin. Hong Lian, I will give you these 2 items right now. Ruijin extended his hands with the items toward her, and directly passed them over. Hong Lian was still rather stunned. She just refused to believe that the items had actually appeared before her. She had basically extended hands subconsciously. Her hands trembled as she received the items from Ruijin. Despite this, she never looked away from them throughout the entire process. A while later, Hong Lian finally calmed down. She looked away from the items and stared at Ruijin fixedly. "Ruijin, where did you get the legacy treasures of my clan? Did my clansmen not take them away when they vanished all those years ago?" "No, that's not the case." Ruijin shook his head and continued. "Hong Lian, sense it closely and see if the treasures are the same as the description in your inherited memories." Hong Lian looked at Ruijin doubtfully as she slowly closed her eyes. She sensed the 2 treasure carefully. Her eyes snapped open very quickly. They shone so brightly that they actually seemed to be able to illuminate objects, and deep shock and disbelief replaced her previous emotions. Origin energy. This is actually origin energy. How is that possible? How can origin energy exist in the legacy treasures of my clan? Hong Lian began to cry out uncontrollably once again. The shock within her had reached a maximum peak. She was born and raised within the Saint artifact, but her inherited memories possessed a lot of hidden information about the world. She knew what origin energy was very well. It was something that could make Saint Kings salivate over. Only those who had surpassed Saint Emperor could control it. Rui Jin, just what is going on? Why does origin energy exist within the legacy treasure of my clan? This is completely different from my inherited memories. And just where did you get these two treasures from? Hong Lian stared at Rui Jin impatiently. She wanted to know the answers as soon as possible. Rui Jin did not hurry to answer. Instead, he turned slowly toward the clouds that seemed like they were on fire. He said slowly and calmly, Hong Lian, I met the winged tiger god. The winged tiger god? That young winged tiger god? Hong Lian asked curiously. No. Rui Jin shook his head and said, the winged tiger god that surpassed Saint Emperor in the ancient times. These words stunned Hong Lian and she asked, how is that possible? So much time has passed. Has the winged tiger god not died? I don't know whether he's dead or not, but he was old a strand of a soul when I met him all those years ago. It was the winged tiger god who handed me the two legacy treasures of your clans. He also got me to pass them on to you, said Rui Jin. The clan head of every generation always used the legacy treasures, and it never leaves their body. How did it end up in the hands of the winged tiger god? Hong Lian asked in confusion. Rui Jin turned around and looked at Hong Lian sternly. A bright golden light shone from him, and the legacy treasures of the dragon clan. The sacred dragon's armor and sacred dragon's sword appeared. Even the legacy treasures of my dragon clan were with the winged tiger god. And the two items also now have this extra origin energy, making them stronger. They're far more powerful than their descriptions in the inherited memories. Moreover, Heiyu also acquired a similar suit of armor and weapon. They both possess origin energy, and are no weaker than our legacy weapons. The winged tiger god gifted both to him. Hong Lian was clearly stunned by these words, and she said, why did the winged tiger god give us these two items? He seemed to have disappeared with our two clans. And why does he know that there are still members of the Dragon clan and Phoenix clan left in this world? Not only did the winged tiger god know that there are remaining members of the two clans, he knew even more unbelievable matters in even greater detail. I even suspect that the winged tiger god is not dead, but hiding somewhere and observing the Tianyuan continent silently, said Rui Jin. What did you say? Hong Lian became astonished. This conjecture was just too astounding. Hong Lian, I have something else to tell you. Our clansmen have not vanished. They might have gone to another realm. There's still hope for us to find them. Rui Jin's tone was in no way calm. It possessed a sliver of excitement that he struggled to hide. Hey, are you sure? Hong Lian also became excited. Rui Jin nodded and said, when the winged tiger god left us these items, he said that we needed a crucial person to find our clansmen. And that person was the human youngster which the Saint artifact took as a master, Jianshen. The winged tiger god said that we need to protect Jianshen if we want to find our clansmen. Moreover, he told us that we would never be able to see them ever again if Jianshen died. Jianshen. It's actually him. He's not very old. So how does the winged tiger god know someone like him? Maybe it's true that he's not dead, but secretly hiding somewhere as he observes everything unfold. Hong Lian murmured. She felt quite uneasy. Chapter 1007. Death Hunt 1. Hong Lian, you should refine the two treasures of your clan as soon as possible. The relationship between the Tianyuan continent and the Beast God continent has been quite unpeaceful recently. The ruler of the Beast God continent has become Jianshen's enemy because he wants the winged tiger god. Jianshen can face danger at any moment, so we can't leave his side for too long. Although Heiyu is with him, he's just one person in the end. If he comes across two Saint Emperors, he won't be able to save Jianshen, said Rui Jin. Hong Lian nodded slightly. She understood just how important Jianshen was right now. She found it rather hard to accept that she needed to protect a junior, but in order to reunite with her clansmen, she would not hesitate to pay any even greater price. Hong Lian glanced at the bead on the feather mail silently and asked, Rui Jin, what is this bead? It doesn't seem to be an item from my clan. It was gifted by the winged tiger god. It's an extremely wondrous treasure that specializes in protecting the soul. It can make the soul immune to foreign influences. It is extremely simple to refine the bead. All you need to do is drip a droplet of essence blood, and then fuse a portion of your soul into it, Rui Jin explained. Hong Lian did not say any more. She lifted up the 2 legacy treasures, and the bead gifted by the winged tiger god, and jumped into the crater of the volcano. She submerged herself in the churning magma. Rum Guinness chose a beautiful mountain to construct a grave for her dead husband in the depths of the Cross Mountains. The grave was extremely simple, with a 3-meter-tall stone gravestone and a dirt mound. She did not bury her husband in the mound. Instead, she buried a few items that her husband always carried around, as well as some pieces of furniture her husband would use when he lived in the Gilligan clan. Rum Guinness had no other choice except to bury these items, as her husband had already been dead for many years. She could not find his corpse no matter what. Husband, we've already avenged you. You can rest well in the afterlife. Rum Guinness sobbed painfully before the gravestone, as tears ran down her face unceasingly. Growl. The white tiger produced a growl as well. Moreover, its voice carried some sorrow, as if it was trying to say something in its own language. Jian Chun Yu and Hei Yu stood silently beside Rum Guinness, as they watched everything unfold. Jian Chun and Yu both carried a sliver of sorrow and sympathy, while Hei Yu remained indifferent. Behind them stood the white-robed Peng King, and a group of elders from the Gilligan clan. They all looked at Rum Guinness and the winged tiger god silently with mixed gazes. The Peng King told the elders everything that had happened all those years ago with the Tiger King's death, which allowed them to understand the truth behind everything. Rum Guinness had not worked with humans and betrayed the clan. Instead, the Tiger King framed her since he intended to kill the winged tiger god. Although all the elders were magical beasts, there were plenty of clever people among them. Many of them immediately connected these events to the beast god continent after they learned the truth from the Peng King. They guessed that there was definitely someone powerful on the beast god continent who had prompted the Tiger King to harm the winged tiger god. Otherwise, the Peng King would not have been so fearful either. Rum Guinness dried her tears and rubbed the white tiger's head gently. She said, Child, let's go. The Cross Mountains are no longer a place where the 2 of us can stay. She turned to Jian Shen as she spoke and bowed politely toward him. Savior, thank you for allowing us to complete our revenge. From now onward, I, Rum Guinness, am willing to work like a slave for the Savior. Jian Shen quickly helped Rum Guinness up and said, Please don't be like that, Senior. I am very good friends with Xiaobai. It's something that I'm supposed to do, helping a friend that is. And I also had some enmity with the Tiger King, so I just happened to assist you in your revenge this time. Please don't call me your Savior, Senior. Just call me Jian Shen. Savior, how can I do that? I faced impending death back then. And if the Savior had not taken in my child, he probably would not have been able to live until today. Also, Savior saved my life. Your kindness toward the 2 of us is so great that I cannot even return it with my life. Rum Guinness said from the bottom of her heart. The way Rum Guinness acted pained Jian Shen. After a slight hesitation he said, Senior, let's not talk about this for now and leave this place. This time, Rum Guinness did not say anything more. She traveled toward the boundary of the Cross Mountains with Jian Shen and the white tiger. The Peng King could no longer remain silent, as he watched them gradually get further away. He said, Rum Guinness, your child is the beast god, the winged tiger god. I hope the great beast god can stay behind and protect the Gilligan clan, as well as lead all the magical beasts in the Cross Mountains. Everyone in the Gilligan clan is willing to follow the great beast god. The Peng King dropped to one knee as he finished his words. We're willing to follow the great beast god. All of the elders dropped to their knees, and they all repeated what the Peng King had said. No one disagreed. We will not be staying here. The Gilligan clan no longer has anything to do with us. I've stopped being a member of the clan long ago, Rum Guinness said without looking back. The Gilligan clan was a region of pain in her heart, and a region of despair. The Pung King immediately hesitated with that. He secretly sighed as pity filled his face. Chapter 1008. Death Hunt 2. Heiyu's expression immediately became extremely horrible. He had never thought that the two saint emperors from the beast god continent would enter the Tianyuan continent once again and directly arrive before them. Heiyu knew that they had come with ill intentions, so he did not hesitate and immediately contacted Ruijin with a secret technique. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to deal with the two saint emperors from the beast god continent. Jianchen's expression also drastically changed when he saw the two saint emperors from the beast god continent and the path lord of carnal desires. However, he reacted relatively quickly and simultaneously let out the saint artifact into his palm and the Octotera divine hall from his space ring. He made the divine hall expand quickly. "Don't resist, I'll send you all into the artifact space," Jianshen growled. He sent Yu, the white tiger, and Rum Guinness into the saint artifact as fast as he could. Then he disappeared into the divine hall. A tremendous energy rippled from Heiyu, and an azure suit of armor appeared on him. A machete that glowed with a silver light had also appeared in his right hand, as it radiated with a terrifying pressure. These were the items he relied on the most to fend off saint emperors, as a saint king at great perfection. The Pung King recognized the Tiger Emperor and Kaiser at first glance. He immediately became surprised, and he dropped to one knee. "I greet the esteemed Kaiser and your majesty the Tiger Emperor." "We greet the esteemed Kaiser and your majesty the Tiger Emperor." All the elders dropped to one knee as well. Kaiser and the Tiger Emperor did not even look at them, and directly ignored them. They glared at Jianshen, who had fled into the divine hall. "First, you ignore the rules of the Gilligan clan, and trespass the depths of the Cross Mountains. Then you kill experts of my race. You cannot be forgiven, Jianshen. I'd like to see where you flee off to this time. Don't think that hiding in that wretched divine hall can keep you safe. I'll break through your divine hall right now," growled Lankiros, before he struck the air with his palm. The energy of the world immediately began to gather at an unbelievable speed with the Tiger King's strike, before it formed a huge palm 100 meters in length. It whistled out and targeted the Octotera divine hall with a devastating might. Heiyu appeared before the divine hall with a flash. The origin energy armor covered his body with a hazy layer of azure light. At the same time, a sharp blade of light that was several dozen meters in length shot out from his machete. It struck the Tiger King's palm strike. Heiyu's attack was in no way weaker than a strike from a Saint Emperor, because it had originated from a weapon with origin energy. The terrifying blade of light struck the palm and produced a deafening boom. Terrifying ripples of energy directly wreaked havoc in the surroundings. The surrounding space collapsed and turned it into darkness. Even the sun darkened slightly from the collision of their attacks. The entire mountain range shook violently. A large region of the range collapsed, and the terrifying residual energy knocked all the elders of the Gilligan clan flying. They could not resist at all and vomited blood. They were just too close to the energy collision, so even with their strengths as Saint Kings, they were still injured by the residual energy. The Pung King became extremely stern. He transformed into a faint blur and fled far away with unbelievable speed before the residual energy could get to him. He appeared several dozen kilometers away in the blink of an eye. The energy also knocked the Octotera Divine Hall far away, as it floated in the sky. It constantly trembled and shook as it flew, clearly affected by the energy as well. Jianshen sat on the top floor of the Divine Hall, as he poured all his strength into controlling it. He borrowed the knockback force to flee toward the outer boundaries of the Cross Mountains as fast as he could. The Cross Mountains were very close to Mercenary City. The distance that separated them were less than 200,000 kilometers. He needed to hurry there as fast as he could to save his own life, as he could already tell that the Path Lord of Carnal Desires was working with the two other experts. Even if Ruijin was by his side, He would not be able to repel 3 Saint Emperors. I'll keep him busy. You go hunt down Jianchen, growled Lankiros as he continued his fight with Heiyu. He kept Heiyu busy, so that he could not protect Jianchen at all. Kaiser and the Path Lord did not respond, and just chased the Divine Hall silently. Kaiser directly hurled a punch at the hall. Boom! Kaiser's punch knocked the huge Divine Hall far away, and it shook violently all over. A tiny crack had appeared where Kaiser's punch had landed, and it constantly expanded. It covered a quarter of the entire hall like a spider's web. Jianchen's expression took a change for the worse, as he controlled the Divine Hall on the very top layer. Kaiser's strength had completely exceeded his imaginations. He had never thought that just a single attack could damage the Divine Hall to such an extent. Kaiser sneered. This is a very tough Divine Hall. I wonder how many punches it can withstand from me. As he spoke, Kaiser heavily punched the Divine Hall once more. The cracks constantly expanded and widened. They almost covered half of the hall now. Jianchen gritted his teeth as he controlled the Divine Hall. He had no power to resist Saint Emperors. All he could do was hurry to Mercenary City as fast as possible. Jianchen, you can't run away this time. It'll be pointless even if that dragon returns, Kaiser icily said, and he punched the Divine Hall once more. It caused the cracks to become even denser. As his 4th punch landed, cracks had covered every inch of the Divine Hall. Boom! With the 5th punch, the entrance to the Divine Hall directly shattered. It completely disintegrated and had destroyed a large part of the structure. The 6th punch destroyed half of the structure. The majestic Divine Hall had now fallen into ruins. This is the last punch, Jianchen. I'd like to see if your Divine Hall can withstand my 7th punch, Kaiser coldly said before he struck out. This punch was clearly much more powerful than the rest. As it flew out, it directly ripped through whatever it passed. It was strong enough to destroy the surroundings completely. Chapter 1009. Death Hunt 3. Jianchen's expression could not help but change, as he felt the might within Kaiser's punch. He instinctively knew that the Divine Hall would definitely be reduced to ruins completely if this attack landed. Moreover, it would possibly be irreparable damage. The Divine Hall was already heavily damaged, so it was no longer able to resist Kaiser's punch that was close to his full strength. Terrifying energy coiled around Kaiser's fist. Just this simple attack possessed an earth-shaking aura. Space became as fragile as tofu before it, ripping open easily and turning into darkness. However, just when the punch was about to strike the Divine Hall, it suddenly disappeared. Kaiser's punch missed and struck the space before him. It caused the space to tremble violently. Jianchen had stored the Divine Hall away. He did not want it simply destroyed like this, after he had obtained it through so much difficulty. Then, a golden streak of light shot out from his forehead, and instantly turned into a 100-meter-tall golden tower. It hovered above his head as he flew toward Mercenary City. You sure have quite a few treasures, but it'll be difficult for you to escape death no matter how many you have, sneered Kaiser. A cold light shone from his eyes, which displayed his determined killing intent. Kaiser disappeared as soon as he finished speaking. He reappeared before Jianchen and hurled out a simple punch at him. Kaiser's attacks were extremely simple, without any fancy tricks to it. However, every single one possessed an unbelievably great might, enough to easily annihilate the surroundings. The Saint artifact above him immediately began to fall. It stopped in front of Jianchen. With a violent boom, Kaiser's fist landed on the Saint artifact like a lightning bolt. The powerful force directly knocked it backward, and it slammed heavily into Jianchen, who was behind it. Spurt! Jianchen immediately vomited a mouthful of blood and shot backward along with the Saint artifact. The sound of his ribs breaking was faintly audible. The collision from the Saint artifact was comparable to a strike from a 9th heavenly layer Saint King. So Jianchen struggled to defend against it even with his chaotic body. He became quite injured. A head-sized dent appeared on the Saint artifact after it resisted Kaiser's punch. It was clearly much tougher than the Octotera Divine Hall. Jianchen shot backward like a cannonball. He was directly catapulted out of the depths of the Cross Mountains and arrived in the outer boundary of the mountain range. Houston suddenly raised his head in a valley over 10,000 kilometers away from Jianchun as he plowed the ground. His indifferent eyes lit up in a shocking fashion as he cast his gaze into the distance. It's two Class 9 magical beasts from the Beast God continent. They actually entered the continent sneakily. Weird. Where are Jianchun's two experts that possess the origin energy items? Why do I only feel one of them? Is the other one not with him? Houston mumbled with a deep voice. He immediately became extremely ugly when he thought of this possibility. If that's the case, Jianchun's in trouble. With that, Houston tossed aside his hoe and ripped open a space gate easily. He directly disappeared through it. Jianchun's chaotic force had filled his body long ago, as he pushed everything that the chaotic body could provide to the maximum. He had drawn his emperor armament as well, and shot a powerful sword chi time after time at Kaiser, with the Saint artifact protecting him. He knew his current attacks could not harm Saint Emperors at all, but it could slow down Kaiser temporarily at the very least. Kaiser treated the sword chi from Jianchun as nothing. He struck out with a great might and shattered it all into pieces, and even damaged the Saint artifact several times. The dents became denser and denser as the space within it trembled constantly. It seemed like an apocalypse inside. Although the Saint artifact could resist attacks from a Saint Emperor for some time, Jianchun could not hide in it to escape the dangers, as Kaiser would be able to take it back to the Beast God continent and open it up slowly. At that time, it would not just be him. Even the white tiger hidden in the artifact space would lose its life. Just what is this golden tower? There clearly isn't any origin energy, yet it can resist so many of my attacks. Kaiser could not help but become angered as Jianchun blocked his attacks time after time. It was just humiliating for him to expend so much effort to deal with a mere Saint King. Suddenly, Kaiser opened his hand and clenched the space up ahead tightly. He said, "Freeze, space." The space around Jianchun froze in that instant, which trapped him in place and immobilized him. He even lost control of the Saint artifact. "I'd like to see where you run off to now." Kaiser smiled viciously at Jianchun. Then he arrived before Jianchun in a flash. He directly thrust his hand at Jianchun's chest in an attempt to dig out his heart. I never thought that a great expert of the Beast God continent would lower himself to fighting a junior. If the word made its way out, you'd probably become a laughing stock. An old voice suddenly boomed in the surroundings. 1,000 meters away, a space gate suddenly formed and a long jet-black spike flew out. It shot toward Kaiser at an unbelievable speed, as it pierced through space. "You're looking to die." Kaiser's face darkened, and his hand that originally headed toward Jianchun's heart curled up into a fist. He punched toward the spike. The spike was knocked away by the terrifying energy that had erupted when it reached half a meter from the fist. It shot back toward the space gate with unbelievable speed. Houston emerged from the space gate in a coarse garment and without shoes. He looked at the spike indifferently and made a slight gesture with his hand. The sharp force that propelled it immediately disappeared, and it landed obediently in Houston's hand. Kaiser looked at Houston coldly and said, "A Saint King at great perfection. However, you're not my opponent. You can't stop me." "Kaiser, you're still one of the great experts of the Beast God continent after all. Isn't it just too far for you to bully a junior? And you've broken our agreement once again, entering the Tianyuan continent," growled Houston. His complexion was very ugly. Chapter 10:10. Houston's baleful enforce. You have no right to govern what I do. And your junior of the human race purposely instigated this matter. He trespassed the depths of the Cross Mountains and killed an expert of my Beast God continent. Do you really think that my Beast God continent can be trampled on? Kaiser growled. His hand shot out once again and grabbed toward Jianchun's heart. The frozen space left Jianchun completely immobilized. Kaiser froze it with his abilities as a Saint Emperor, so it was not something that Jianchun could break free from. Houston's eyes shone with a light that had never appeared before. In that moment, his eyes were like torches that were sharp and dazzling as the sun. Two beams of light seemed to shoot from his eyes, which caused the space in front of him to twist. Suddenly, a great presence erupted from his body. It shot into the sky and caused the air and clouds to churn. A black mist began to emerge from Houston's body. It blotted out the sky and suddenly plunged the bright world into darkness. It was so dark that the range of visibility was less than an arm's reach, while even the blazing sun had disappeared. This was darkness attributed Saint Force. The long, black spike in Houston's hand seemed to fuse perfectly with the pitch-black world. It shone with a barely visible light, as it shot soundlessly toward Kaiser. The spike was unbelievably fast, which made it even harder to sense. A strike like this would definitely be difficult to block for an opponent with a similar strength to Houston. They would be heavily injured even if they avoided death, but it could not threaten Saint Emperors. A cold light flickered in Kaiser's eyes, as if darkness completely did not affect him. He stared fixedly at Houston as cold killing intent permeated from him without any restraint. He snorted, "You overestimate yourself. Since you want to stop me time and time again, I'll eliminate you first." Kaiser could not help but stop his hand that targeted Jian Chen's chest. Afterward, he clenched it tightly and struck out loudly. A terrifying energy immediately surged wildly from Kaiser's punch. It transformed into a dragon, as it struck the black spike with an unstoppable force. Houston's spike struck with the dragon condensed from energy. With a violent boom, Kaiser's attack blew the spike far away. Meanwhile, the dragon continued toward Houston with no reduction in force, as it seemed to roar. With the spike knocked backward, Houston produced a visible tremble. However, his face remained the same. He gently spoke, as he stared at the threatening dragon, "Shadow escape." He suddenly disappeared with these two words. It was not just his figure, as his presence had vanished as well. The dragon flew past Houston's previous location and struck a mountain behind him in the end. It produced a violent rumble, which caused the entire mountain to collapse loudly. Do you really think that I can't find you after you fused with your surroundings? It's just small tricks. Watch how I break through your domain of darkness," Kaiser sneered disdainfully. Then he struck out with a simple punch at the dark sky. The power that coiled around the punch was enough to shake the sky. Bang! Kaiser's punch seemed to have landed on a drum. It produced a muffled sound and immediately, the world of darkness began to violently twist. The entire region greatly shook as rays of bright light pierced in from the outside world. In the blink of an eye, all the darkness disappeared completely from the region. The scorching sun illuminated the world once more. The light of the world had returned. Houston reappeared now that his secret technique had been broken through. He hovered 1,000 meters away with a pale face. Spurt. Suddenly, Houston vomited a mouthful of blood. His face became even paler, now without any trace of blood. Kaiser's strength was just too great. He was one of the most powerful people even among Saint Emperors. His attacks were straightforward, but it possessed the might to destroy the surroundings every time he struck out. No one could withstand his attacks unless they were Saint Emperors. Even Saint Kings at great perfection were not enough. Kaiser did not give Houston any time to catch his breath. He took a step and traversed the distance between them silently and arrived before Houston. He eyed Houston coldly, before he extended his hand in the form of a claw toward Houston's chest. He wanted to dig out Houston's heart as well. "It's not that simple if you want to kill me." Houston glared at him, as the darkness attributed Saint Force on him disappeared in that instant. A dense blood-red mist erupted from him. It was as thick as sticky blood and enveloped Houston's entire body. He said deeply from within the mist, "This is the baleful force I have condensed after taking countless lives throughout my entire life. I originally thought that I would never use it again, but I never thought that I'd still be able to see its might one more time right before I pass away. Kaiser, enjoy. This is the baleful force of the Bloodsword sect. What powerful baleful force." Kaiser's expression finally changed when he saw the dense red mist. His hand that reached toward Houston forcefully stopped in midair. He was no longer willing to extend his hand any further. He immediately began to retreat rapidly without any hesitation, in an attempt to get as far from Houston as possible. However, it was already too late. All the baleful force around Houston condensed into a blood-red spike that shot toward Kaiser as a red streak of light. Kaiser became extremely stern as he faced the spike. He had not shown this level of sternness, even when he had faced the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. The baleful Yin force was a powerful energy that only existed within the Bloodsword sect. It was condensed from the Chi of Slaughter, and was tangible, yet intangible. It specialized in harming the souls of people. It could not be blocked or parried, and there was no way to break through it. The only way out was to forcefully resist it. Kaiser was a Saint Emperor, but magical beasts were born with weaker souls than humans. They were nowhere as great as human souls. Meanwhile, Houston had condensed his baleful Yin force throughout his life. It was so powerful that it could wipe out the souls of anyone at the same level as him. So even human Saint Emperors would suffer quite a lot before it, let alone magical beasts. Also, when baleful Yin force injured a soul, it would become extremely difficult to heal. This injury would greatly affect any cultivation done in the future. Kaiser backpedaled consecutively, as he moved extremely fast. He would travel several kilometers with every step, as he feared the baleful Yin force very much. However, he was nowhere as fast as the baleful Yin force, which allowed it to catch up very quickly and pierce through the center of his eyebrows. Arg! Kaiser cried out painfully. He no longer behaved as mightily as before. He clutched his head with both his hands in agony. The baleful Yin force currently devoured his soul without mercy. It was far worse than the time he received the Palm of Severance from the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. Although the Path Lord of Carnal Desires had forced Kaiser into a horrible condition with his attacks in the battle outside the atmosphere. The attack would affect his soul, which triggered the desires and emotions hidden within his heart. On the other hand, the baleful Yin force directly harmed his soul. The frozen space around Jianchen had shattered long ago as Kaiser fought with Houston, so Jianchen recovered his mobility. A sharp gleam of light immediately flickered through Jianchen's eyes when he saw Kaiser's behavior. The Saint artifact directly landed in his hand with a thought, and he removed the only strand of Emperor's power from inside. A devastating energy flooded the surrounding space with the power's appearance, which caused it to tremble non-stop. Jianchen carefully controlled the Emperor's power as it floated above his hand. He arrived before Kaiser in a flash and struck Kaiser's head resolutely. Chapter 10:11. Rui Jin arrives. Jianchen carefully controlled the Emperor's power as it floated above his hand. He arrived before Kaiser in a flash and struck Kaiser's head resolutely. A gleam of light flashed through the Path Lord of Carnal Desires, who was standing to one side. He stared in interest at the drop of Emperor's power in Jianchen's hand, and his expression changed slightly. He cried out inside, "It's an Emperor's power. I never thought Jianchen would actually possess some Emperor's power. It's teeming with water-attributed energy, so it must have come from a Saint Emperor of the Sea Realm. The power is enough to threaten Saint Emperors. The baleful Yin force has injured Kaiser's soul. From the looks of his expression, he's in so much pain that he would rather be off dead. He can't bother with what's going around him at all. I wonder if this Emperor's power can heavily injure him or not." The light inside the Path Lord's eyes immediately began to flicker as he thought up to there. A gleam of extremely hidden, but sharp light flickered through his eyes from time to time. Houston had also noticed the Emperor's power in Jianchen's hand. When he saw that Jianchen was about to push it into Kaiser's head, his eyes immediately lit up. He felt a sliver of anticipation. Heiyu, who was locked in combat with Lankiros, naturally discovered the Emperor's power in Jianchen's hand. He could not help but sneer when he saw Jianchen's actions. Bang! With the Emperor's power in hand, Jianchen finally slapped it forcefully into the back of Kaiser's head. It produced a bang, and immediately, a terrifying ripple of residual energy burst out and flung Jianchen far away. Jianchen was thrown backward and only stabilized himself after he flew several thousand kilometers. His right hand that had carried the Emperor's power also began to tremble uncontrollably, while his complexion became extremely ugly. There was some disbelief present on his face as well. When he had stuck Kaiser's head just then, Jianchen felt like he had struck a tough steel board. Not only did it fail to turn Kaiser's head into pieces as he had expected, It even failed to heavily injure him. The Emperor's power actually failed to pierce Kaiser's skull. All it has done is blow away his skin. Isn't his head just a little too tough? Jianshan thought. He could feel that the Emperor's power had caused minimal damage to Kaiser. The toughness of Kaiser's body had far exceeded his expectation. I never thought that Kaiser's body would be so terrifying. He sure is worthy of being a species that borderlines dragons. If it were not for the fact that I had some advantage in soul attacks when I had fought him before, I probably would not have been his opponent, thought the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. He was also surprised, as he watched from afar. Arg, you impudent brat, to actually make a sneak attack on me. I'm ripping you into pieces today no matter what, Kaiser roared angrily. Although the Emperor's power did not threaten him at all, it reduced him to an even more horrible state. With Kaiser's level of pride, how could he endure being forced into such a state by a human junior that was both weaker than him in strength and status? It was basically a great humiliation to him. Suddenly, Kaiser's gaze became extremely terrifying. His face twisted viciously and became like a demon that had climbed out from hell. Just a glance at him was enough to make people shiver. Kaiser poured everything he had into suppressing the great pain in his soul, as he glared coldly at Jianshan. He seemed to be tempted to devour Jianshan alive. Suddenly Kaiser disappeared. When he reappeared, he had already arrived before Jianshan. One of his hands had completely turned into a dragon claw, as he swung it mercilessly at Jianshan's head. At the same time, he froze the space around Jianshan once more. This limited Jianshan's movements and prevented him from using the Saint artifact to block the attack. Jianshan's eyes narrowed abruptly. Kaiser's claw constantly grew larger and closer in his eyes, but he was trapped and immobilized. He could only helplessly watch on, as it rapidly approached. Suddenly, the space to their side split open in this moment of life and death. A sword that radiated with a blinding golden light, and a terrifying sword chi suddenly materialized. Then, it shot toward Kaiser's claw with lightning speed. Clang! As the sword collided with the dragon claw, the sound of an earth-shaking metallic collision erupted. The sword was knocked away, but it also derailed Kaiser's claw. A tiny wound appeared on the claw and bright red blood began to flow from it. This was the blood of a Saint Emperor. Although it was only a tiny amount, it was incredibly eye-catching. Moreover, the terrifying amount of energy hidden inside could be clearly felt. Kaiser immediately became shocked when Rui Jin injured his claw, because it was the toughest part of his body. Even Saint Emperors would fail to injure his claws. It's a weapon that possesses origin energy. The sacred dragon's sword. Kaiser muttered hoarsely as he stared at the shining sword. A space gate quickly formed. Rui Jin in golden armor stepped out with Hong Lian, who wore a crimson dress. Rui Jin made a gesture with his hand, and the sacred dragon's sword flew over from afar as a streak of light. Then, it landed obediently in Rui Jin's hand. Rui Jin wielded the sword as he looked expressionlessly at Kaiser. He growled, "I never thought I'd see you, mutated earthworm, so soon. What, do you really want to go against me?" Kaiser stared viciously at Rui Jin and gnashed his teeth and said, "You again. It's actually you again who's messing with what I'm doing. You may be a king of the Dragon Clan, but the Dragon Clan no longer exists now. It's best if you don't get in my way, or I'll kill you as well, believe it or not. Mutated earthworm, do you really think that you can kill me?" Rui Jin said with a deep voice. His face was extremely dark. The fact that a mere mutated earthworm dared to threaten him, a dragon king, made Rui Jin extremely furious. Kaiser no longer bothered to talk with Rui Jin. Instead, he turned to the Path Lord of Carnal Desires and called out, "Human Saint Emperor, it's about time." A gleam of light flickered through the Path Lord's eyes. He said nothing and directly took a step forward. He crossed more than 10 kilometers to arrive before Rui Jin. Rui Jin's face sank when he saw the Path Lord. He growled, "Human Saint Emperor, I never thought you'd actually be working that mutated earthworm to harm the genius of your race." "You talk too much," the Path Lord said indifferently. He grabbed at the empty space. The energy of the world began to condense quickly, which he used to strike Rui Jin. At the same time, he uttered gently, Since you have a treasure that can protect you against my attacks of the 7 emotions and 6 desires, I'll abandon them and completely use the abilities of a Saint Emperor to fight you. Chapter 10:12. Hong Lian injured the sacred dragon's sword dance with his arms, as he wielded it. It immediately stabbed out toward the path lord of carnal desires with a terrifying presence, and the sword radiated brightly with golden light. Boom! The sword collided violently with the surging energy from the path lord of carnal desires in midair, and immediately produced a deafening sound. Terrifying residual energy swept out, which caused the mountains below to collapse one after the other. The entire Cross Mountains turned into a mess, where a large number of weaker magical beasts died, due to the collision between Rui Jin and the Path Lord's attacks. Their clash also shattered the frozen space around Jianshen. As soon as Jianshen regained his mobility, he had to face the residual energy. The energy knocked him away like a kite with a broken string. "Let's fight in outer space, or the life on this continent will suffer," the Path Lord said. With that, he shot into the sky and headed directly for outer space. Rui Jin turned to Hong Lian and growled. The human Saint Emperor's attacks of 7 emotions and 6 desires target the soul. They can affect a person's mind unknowingly. You still haven't fully refined that protective bead, so only I can keep him busy. You stay here and protect Jianshen. Hong Lian nodded sternly. White flames radiated from her body and enveloped her completely. Immediately, the terrifying heat spread into the surroundings and caused the temperature to skyrocket. It reached a terrifying level very quickly, as if even the air was burning. Through the white flames, one could vaguely see that Hong Lian had already equipped the feather mail completely made out of plumage. It was a legacy treasure of her divine phoenix clan, the 9 refined Godfire feather mail. The strengthening of origin energy had increased the defense of the treasure. It could withstand attacks from Saint Emperors and not suffer any damage. Hong Lian was only a Saint King at great perfection. It could be said that someone with this level of strength could not even flee before a Saint Emperor. However, she could contend with Saint Emperors, as she possessed the offensive and defensive treasures of her clan. Origin energy. It's actually origin energy again, said Kaiser with his deep voice, as he stared at the Hong Lian, wrapped in white flames in interest. The muscles on his face constantly twitched and twisted, perhaps due to the fact that he had to suppress the pain of his soul with everything he had. He seemed extremely vicious. Kaiser looked at Hong Lian as the light in his eyes flickered. He growled, "Little Phoenix, I won't make it hard for you considering that you're a magical beast as well. It's best if you don't interfere with my matters." With that, Kaiser tried to travel around Hong Lian in the form of a flash, as he attempted to chase Jianshen. However, the white flames around Hong Lian suddenly began to churn violently just as Kaiser passed by her. It turned into a huge white phoenix in that instant, which swallowed Kaiser in roaring flames. "Little Phoenix, don't blame me for not going easy on you since you have no idea what's good for you." Tyrant Dragon's Punch. Kaiser called out angrily from within the white flames. With a great boom, Kaiser destroyed the phoenix condensed from the white flames with a single punch. The phoenix immediately collapsed and turned into a cloud of fire in the sky. The terrifying temperature caused the space to twist. Hong Lian floated sternly in the sky. Her crimson hair danced in the wild wind. Suddenly, she opened her arms and cried out, "White cleansing flames, return!" A mysterious force seemed to lead away the white flames after Kaiser scattered them with his punch. The flames gathered toward Hong Lian from all directions. Blazing the void, a refinement of flames, Hong Lian called out. She quickly compressed all the white flames in her surrounding into a fist-sized ball. Then, it exploded loudly and rapidly expanded in all directions. It formed a ball of flames 10 kilometers across in the end. White flames filled the entire ball. It was like a sea of flames, and it was so hot that it seemed to be able to scorch anything and everything. Kaiser stood proudly in the sea of flames. A powerful layer of energy had condensed around him to protect himself from the flames. Although the white fire was terrifying, it clearly posed no threat to Kaiser as a Saint Emperor. Hong Lian also appeared in the sea of flames. The crimson feather mail was eye-catching in the space of white flames. "Little Phoenix, you're not my opponent. If you're sensible, then back off quickly," Kaiser said coldly as he eyed Hong Lian. The origin energy feather mail protected her, so he could not harm her at all. As a result, Kaiser did not want to bother with Hong Lian anymore. "The refinement of flames may not be able to harm you, but it can exhaust your energy unceasingly," Hong Lian said calmly. She slowly raised her hand as a flame-red hairpin appeared bit by bit. Immediately, a mysterious and powerful energy began to radiate from it. Origin energy again. God damn it. Why do you people all have so many items with origin energy? Kaiser's expression changed slightly. Swish. The hairpin in Hong Lian's hand shot toward Kaiser as a flash. Kaiser bellowed out, and his right hand became a powerful dragon's claw in that moment. He swung it toward the hairpin. Ding! With a metallic ring, Kaiser's claw actually knocked the hairpin away, while he remained unscathed. Kaiser's eyes lit up. He thought, "This item with origin energy is far weaker than the sacred dragon's sword of the dragon clan." Excitement sprouted within Kaiser. His fear of Hong Lian had already decreased significantly. He charged toward Hong Lian, as his right hand swept toward her in the form of a dragon's claw. Hong Lian could not dodge the attack at all with her strength as a Saint King at great perfection, so the claw struck her feather mail heavily. The feather mail sustained no damage, but a powerful force traveled through its defense and entered Hong Lian's body. Spurt! Hong Lian paled, and a mouthful of blood sprayed out. The blow knocked her entire body backward. "Ha ha 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 ha. I never thought that your legacy treasure would be far weaker than the two others. I'd like to see how you fight against me now," said Kaiser, as he laughed aloud. Hong Lian became even sterner. She had just obtained the feather mail, and as time was too tight, she had failed to completely refine the defensive treasure before she hurried over. This prevented her from using the maximum power of the two treasures. Chapter 10:13. Strength that surpasses Saint Emperor, 1. Hong Lian gritted her teeth when she heard Kaiser's arrogant words. Her eyes became filled with determination. Jian Chun was a stranger to her, but she needed to protect him no matter what. She needed to this in order to see her clansmen that had disappeared. She was even willing to accept an outcome of being heavily injured. The scorching godfire hairpin that Kaiser had knocked away returned to her hand under her control. Her hands constantly danced about before her. She formed complicated hand seals one after another in a blur. At the same time she called out, "Flaming Comet." The hairpin immediately burst into roaring flames, and it rapidly expanded from its original size of a palm's width. It became 10 meters long in the blink of an eye, as the flames roared on its surface. Whoosh! The huge hairpin transformed into a streak of red light, as it flew toward Kaiser with terrifying ripples of energy. Its speed was unbelievable. "Little Phoenix, you're not my opponent. Do not take other people's kindness for granted," Kaiser called out. Suddenly, his right arm struck out again in the form of a dragon's claw, and he knocked away the hairpin once more. Afterward, he no longer bothered with Hong Lian, and went straight for Jianshan. Jianshan had already disappeared from his field of vision, and was now very far away from the Cross Mountains. He rapidly drew closer to Mercenary City, yet Kaiser could still precisely sense his location. He thought, "I can't let Jianshan reach Mercenary City no matter what, or it'll be troublesome. Your opponent is me. If you want to deal with Jianshan, get through me first," Hong Lian said coldly. She controlled the hairpin to attack Kaiser time and time again in order to obstruct him. Although the hairpin possessed origin energy, Hong Lian had yet to refine it completely. As such, she could not use all of its power. This was why she could not pose too great of a threat to Kaiser, and was only able to keep him busy and prevent him from reaching Jianshan. Intense fury surged inside Kaiser after Hong Lian blocked him time after time. He called out, "Since you have no idea what would be most beneficial for you, let me wipe out your soul first." Tremendous energy coiled around Kaiser's claw, and he directly knocked the hairpin away with a single strike. Afterward, he reappeared several thousand meters away in front of Hong Lian, with a slight movement, and viciously clawed toward her chest. Screech! As his sharp claws scraped across feather mail, an ear-piercing sound rang out. Although his attack could not destroy the armor, Hong Lian could not resist the attack, as she had not fully refined the feather mail. A great force immediately passed through the feather mail's defense and into Hong Lian. Spurt. Hong Lian vomited another mouthful of blood, and Kaiser dispersed the roaring flames around her. Killing intent flooded Kaiser's eyes, and he chased up to Hong Lian. He formed a fist with his claws and bellowed, "Tyrant Dragon's Punch!" Bang! Kaiser's devastating fist landed on Hong Lian, which immediately caused her to vomit blood yet again. Her face paled, while her feather mail almost fell off her body. "Tyrant Dragon's Punch! Tyrant Dragon's Punch! Tyrant Dragon's Punch!" Kaiser pursued Hong Lian, as he rained her with attacks. 8 punches landed on Hong Lian, and the power was so great that even the sky shook. After Kaiser struck her with a rain of fierce attacks, Hong Lian's became presence extremely weak. Her eyes were now closed, and she was now taking her last gasps of air. She seemed to be almost dead. However, at this moment, a crimson flame shot out from within Hong Lian and enveloped her body completely as it blazed. A clear phoenix's cry rang out from within the flames as they constantly churned. The image of a divine phoenix with its head up, as it called at the sky, appeared behind. It seemed extraordinary. This is the innate ability of the divine phoenix clan. Rebirth of fire. Kaiser became ugly when he saw this. The reason he was unwilling to deal with Hong Lian before was because of this innate ability present within the members of the divine phoenix clan. They could immediately return to their peak condition through a baptism of flames when they died, which made them extremely hard to kill and almost immortal. The crimson flames dispersed very quickly and revealed the elegant Hong Lian. A tremendous presence radiated from her, and it was much more powerful than before. All of Hong Lian's injuries had been healed after she underwent rebirth. She had returned to her peak condition, and her strength had even increased. The innate ability of the divine phoenixes could be used a total of 9 times. The user would grow stronger after each use, and after all 9 times, their strength would have increased by several folds. However, the increase was only temporary, so it was impossible to stay like that permanently. "You can't kill me," said Hong Lian calmly, as she nonchalantly looked at Kaiser. A sharp light flickered in Kaiser's eyes. He sneered. "If you were a Class 9 Phoenix, even one that has just broken through to Class 9, I would not be your opponent with your innate ability. But it's a pity that you're only Class 8. You're not my opponent, even if you undergo the 9th rebirth." With that, Kaiser charged toward Hong Lian. He struck out as hard as he could and heavily injured her once again, and made her undergo a 2nd rebirth. "I'll kill you every time you rebirth," said Kaiser with gnashed teeth. He killed Hong Lian once more with his strength as a Saint Emperor. Hong Lian's gaze remained extremely calm throughout. Her strength would increase a little with every rebirth. Soon she had entered the 3rd rebirth. Suddenly, an uncomfortable thought appeared in Kaiser when he noticed Hong Lian's calm gaze. He thought, "It's said that the rebirth of the Divine Phoenix clan can be used 9 times. Will she be dead after those 9 times or what? I can't mess with you any longer," thought Kaiser, as a light flickered through his eyes. He made up his mind. He struck out a few times with full power to heavily injure Hong Lian, who had rebirthed 3 times. Then he no longer stayed put. He fused with the surrounding space and turned into a blur as he traveled in the direction that Jian Chun had disappeared off to. He vanished in the blink of an eye. Hong Lian was still undergoing the process of her 4th rebirth, so she could not obstruct him at all. She could no longer see Kaiser after she had completed the process. Hong Lian's expression changed slightly, and without any hesitation, she turned into a red streak of light in pursuit. Houston currently carried Jian Chun. Houston was a Saint King at great perfection, so his comprehension of the laws of space was far beyond Jian Chun's. As a result, he moved extremely quickly and covered several tens of thousand kilometers with Jian Chun in that short amount of time. They grew nearer and nearer to Mercenary City. "Jian Chun, you can't escape," Kaiser roared out angrily from behind. He was catching up with a speed several times faster than Houston. "Crap, Houston's expression changed and darkness attributed Saint force poured out from his body. His speed immediately skyrocketed as he traveled with a secret technique. However, he was still slower than Kaiser. Kaiser caught up very soon, and he directly stabbed his claws at Jian Chen's back. However, a white streak of light shot over with unbelievable speed at this very moment. It shot past Jian Chen's side and struck Kaiser's claws with great precision. Arg! Immediately Kaiser shrieked out. His claws that were strong enough to repel the sacred dragon's sword was as weak as tofu before the streak of white light. It shot through his claws and bore a hole. Origin energy. It's actually origin energy. This is strength that surpasses Saint Emperor. Kaiser became absolutely terrified. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.